when it comes to like Biden, for example, when it comes to time for re-election or something, they'll forget every terrible thing he ever did. They'll forget it. They'll just say he was great.
Yeah.
Sick.
And I can't
It's
take
so
you, and I
sick.
can't take a person like that serious. I mean,
No,
especially
I can't either.
Especially when he acknowledged. I mean, the president acknowledged that the collapse of the Afghan government happened much more quickly than we anticipated. He said that on TV. He said, "Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that the takeover did happen a lot quicker than we thought." I mean, the fact that he acknowledged that it happened much quicker than anticipated. He acknowledged it, but then he says, "I don't take blame for it, though."
And now, Verbal Artwork Podcast with Mr. Rembrandt.
All right, Raw Wilkes. I'm Mr. Rembrandt, and we're back. It's been a while since we've actually been back on a podcast. I mean, it's been a while, and what I can definitely say is a lot has gone on since we've been gone. Obviously, we still have been keeping in contact, and you know, because we're good friends, we're business partners, we're best friends, we're players on the same team. We motivate each other. We're life friends. But it's been about 5-6 months since I recorded the last episode. Sorry for all the people who were following. I saw the fan base was going up even while I was gone. So there's some rebranding that's been done with not only the podcast but the channel, and not only that, the social media platforms that you could reach me at. There's been some rebranding done. So this is me going back at it full speed. And Raw Wilkes, you're going to be also part of your avenue of marketing and growth and being a part of this podcast. So the AR Media Institute, as of right now, podcast is rebranded, so it's gone. Hopefully I could throw some bombs in here, some lights, but that's gone. Maybe in the future, AR Media Institute will actually be a think tank. But as of right now, this is a podcast, and it has been rebranded to Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt. And it is that reason because Mr. Rembrandt, obviously Rembrandt Harmonzoon van Ring, it was one of the greatest painters of all time. And these conversations are verbal forms of art. The way you explain things, the way you talk about things, your knowledge, your information, it's all artwork. And it's art that could be beneficial for your life or beneficial for you, or it's art that essentially that you just like to listen, learn, and catch the aesthetics of it. Just like paintings make you feel good when you look at it, movies make you feel good when you watch it, music makes you feel good when you hear it, conversations make you feel good, verbal aspects, linguistics make you feel good when you listen to it. So that's why this is Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt, and I have Mr. Raw Wilkes here. So we're going to get into it very soon. Remember, you can follow Raw Wilkes. That's RAW_WILKES on Instagram, and you can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Rembrandt, no space, on Instagram. So,
and just to add with the verbal artwork, Mr. Rembrandt, a thought just came out. Words,
yes.
Thoughts turn into words, words turn to action, actions define who you are. So I was just thinking about the verbal artwork.
No,
just hit me
absolutely.
in the head. Just that order, it's like just like a painting. Many abstracts of how the painting starts off and then how it finishes. There's words, thoughts.
The brush.
Thoughts, words, action. Action defines who you are.
Yes, and even when you're painting, sometimes you don't even know what's going to go on the canvas, but you know you got the brush, you know you got the colors, You take the brush, you put it in the colors, you start touching it, and then it becomes a painting. Verbal artwork. So,
Verbal artwork. Let's get it.
Also, I'll just tell everybody, make sure also you go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Mr. Rembrandt YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you download this on Apple and Spotify, Verbal Artwork with Mr. Rembrandt podcast. You can also become a member at patreon.com/verbal artwork to give me donations, and your donations go into this, and it's a benefit. It's an extreme help, and it also helps Raw Wilkes and us and other ventures that we're doing. It's an amazing help. Please do that. Do what you can, and if you can't, just listen to the podcast. That makes a great help. So again, you can go over to patreon.com/verbal artwork to become a member for a few bucks a month. It costs nothing, basically. So from that point, no further ado, Raw Wilkes, I think we are going to get into it. So, like I said before, it's been a while. It's been a minute. That was a 5-minute intro. And we're going to get into it. So, I know before you sent me something, and I don't know if you want to get into that first. You sent me something in regards to a hedge fund by the hedge fund manager Simmons, I believe, that had to do with the hedge fund that was basically reporting ridiculous returns for the last decade and 2 decades. And so I didn't go through an extreme amount of the public filings that it had. But if you want to break down what you saw and what you feel about it and what you think, and then you could start there, and then we can go into it from there. Because obviously you found it in a particular way that brought some attention to you, that you were like, wow, this is something we should definitely talk about it. So if you want to get into it, you can.
Yeah, so the hedge fund is called the Renaissance Technologies Medallion Fund. And I want to say it started in like early 90s, and it has a report of an annualized return of, I want to say 66% annualized return from like 1988 to 2016. And it's a guy from Staten Island. I believe he's from Staten Island, like you said, son. And he's actually, when you do the backstory on him, he's not even really a true investor from the traditional way of investing.
Hey, Rook, real quick. We're just going to hold on real quick. All right, boom, we're great. Continue.
Yeah, so anyway, like I said, it was a fund by a guy named Simons that was, I guess, the chairman that started the fund. And I believe he was not what you would deem a traditional investor that was doing things by traditional ways of investing. It's almost like he was doing it based on a system that he created from an engineering standpoint that was technical. And his algorithm that he was able to use, from my understanding, research in the background of the fund, was his algorithm was compiled of a bunch of data that told him when to sell and when to buy. And it didn't matter it didn't matter what was the scenario, don't matter what was going on, if it was considered like untraditional to sell something at this time or buy something at this time, it didn't matter. Whatever his system told him to do, his algorithm, that's what he executed, and he was 100% on that. And I imagine there was probably some trading going on involved, but over the course of history, he was being able to create unreal return, compounding. I mean, you're talking about for every dollar was basically like $20,000 over the course of his, I think that's what they estimated if you looked at the stats, that $1 is equivalent to making over that course of that 20-year period. It's $20,000. So you're talking about average people becoming almost near billionaires, 100 millionaires, just investing into his fund for that long, if they invest in it long term with him from beginning to end. But that was just something that I didn't get, like you said, the actual what he was investing in, because obviously a lot of that's not disclosed. And the fund's closed off to the public.
Yeah.
It's now private.
It's a private fund. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now.
It's a private fund. So, like, I do know that I think they say he was doing like quantitative trading.
Yes.
If
Yeah. So
if you want to go into that.
Yeah. So obviously you gave some good background. Knowing what I do know from Simmons, from doing my research like years ago, he is, using the term, he's an OG in the game of the hedge fund world. He's done exceptional. He's a Hall of Famer, if we want to put him in that particular category, and he's done an amazing job with the hedge fund industry. And again, he's a quant style trader. Obviously, like you said, he was an engineer. Some even say, from what I remember his background, he was a mathematician, more so as how he was described as his ability. And he always took that type of approach when it came to investing. Now, like I said, the mind frame in the initial ideology that I had from him in the past was he's a quant trader, and he's doing something in the industry that really can't be duplicated because it's based upon his sophisticated knowledge. So I never, and he's kind of a black box trader, meaning that he doesn't really share his idea on how he does it. He doesn't really have a lot of Q&As. He really doesn't express his style. It's kind of a black box style. And again, it was refreshing for you to actually bring it up, because it made me go back to my inception on when I really started getting deep and learning about investing, to where that's actually the ideology I had of him. And when it comes to his particular fund, again, it appears to be something that's not really duplicatable. And on top of that, there's some, my opinion, there's one or two things that could be happening. One is obviously he's having exceptional entry and exit points that just are not duplicable at all when it comes to investing, because of his specialized knowledge in math, and his specialized knowledge numerologically to be able to use numbers in a way from an engineering standpoint to calculate particular algorithms that are very congruent to investing. Also, side note, if you watch the movie Margin Call, one of the prodigies in the movie is a young, hungry guy who is not an astronaut, but what do you call it? Not an astronaut, but a scientist. Forget the word, of a NASA style scientist. But the guy says, like, what are you, astronaut or something like that? And he says, yeah, I basically am, and basically it's just because you're able to manipulate the numbers the same way, and this is just basically a more appealing income to where I get to use my numbers. But long story short, while his filings are public because of the size of the particular hedge fund, and he's gone private since then, probably as a family fund. That's what it legally is denoted as, to be private. Because of the size, you particularly still have to be public in a sense. That's just what I'm getting from. his entry and exit points, and he's using an algorithm that's not duplicatable. And also, I believe it makes sense to me that what he's doing is he is investing in companies early stage, similar to what venture capitalists do. And rest in peace to the Mamba. He made $100 or so million investing in what is a big company now, can't remember the name, but in the early stages. So that causes an investor to actually 100-ize or 1,000-ize their return when they're investing in a company, particularly extremely early stage, because you're catching the growth, you're catching you're trying to make a fire, you're catching the fire, you're catching the wave, you're catching a tall wave while it's getting incredibly big. And you know, like, this is the one, but while it starts formulating, you just jump on top of it, and next thing you know, you're Kelly Slater. You're the greatest. Really, Kelly Slater is not really. I don't know that much about surfing, but to me, Kelly Slater, what makes him so great compared to the other ones, maybe he is a good surfer, but at the end of the day, he's catching the best waves. I mean, it is what it is. Kelly Slater, he's catching the best waves and he's riding them.
Yeah, right
because
time,
without the
right
wave,
place, right time.
Yeah, because without the wave, how do you become the greatest? You're not becoming the greatest just off a river. Yeah, but anyways, I really think I think he's using numerological based algorithms.
Right.
He was investing in a lot of companies early stage, and he's doing a private equity style process where, like Bill Ackman private equity style, is where you buy into a company and you buy so much of it, you force the management out and you revamp the company into what you want it to be and take it into the stratosphere because you know and feel that you're more competent and smarter as a manager of the company than the people who are already there. So I think it's smart investing with numbers, getting in companies venture capitalist style early stage, and private equity style habits and behavior. And that's just from no research. That's just from what I believe that he's doing. Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that's usually how that works when people get returns like that. Doesn't usually work any other way, because what companies in the market right now are doing 20 years of thousands of %? Nothing.
Yeah,
so in order to get that return, you're going to have to be doing things that are not just buy and hold.
No, you're definitely going to have to be moving some money.
You're
What's very impressive over his course of those 25, 30 years, he's only lost money once. He only had one negative year.
Yeah.
That was, which is, like I said, just as impressive, just looking at the historic. And that was in the beginning. That was more in the beginning. After that, he has never had, even if the market was down 10, 15, he never lost money. He was always in the positive.
Yeah.
His whole time investing. But I figured that he was doing leverage and basically, like I said, the quantitative trading.
Yeah,
and
strategic.
He just had very good. He had, like they said in his information, compiled so much data, and also he was a statistician.
Right.
He was a statistician also, so obviously that goes into his concepts of putting all number and getting all the information, and then just looking out like his model, whatever. It's almost like basically being a weatherman. And then when people predict hurricane forecasting and projections for what route they may take, I look at it the same way of how he was investing. It's not like you can predict without a doubt you're going to win, but his formula was obviously, it'd be interesting to know what he was putting in his formula to be able to spit out his exit and entry strategies. That part I would love to know, but he ain't like he's writing a book about it.
Right.
But either way, a lot of people don't know about that. Medallion Fund, Renaissance Technologies Medallion Fund. Look it up. Greatest fund ever from a guy from New York, Staten Island.
Yeah.
Just looking into that just throws you out because people don't hear about stuff like that. Like you almost have to be in the game to even know about the medallions.
You have to be deep in the game. You got to be deep in the game to, I mean, really, I notice in general, a lot of people don't know about financial aristocrats anyway. People don't know.
Right.
People barely know who Warren Buffett is now. Barely. I mean, when I was studying Warren Buffett, nobody knew who he was. I mean, and this was like when I first started getting to invest in 2013. Nobody knew who Warren Buffett was. And they damn sure didn't know who Munger was. And we're talking about the brightest financial minds of all time. So if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, you're damn sure not going to know who Munger is. So you're not going to know who Bill Ackman is. You're not going to know. You're not going to know who Bill Gross is. You're not going to know. Not going to know who Ray Dalio, Schwartzman, Lawrence Frank from Black.
Charles
I mean, you're not going to Schwab. Yeah, you're not going to know. You're not going to know who these guys are.
Oh, heck no. No, heck no.
You know. You're probably gonna have a little bit of Dunning-Kruger and think Jay-Z is more financially impactful than these guys.
And LeBron James.
Yeah.
He's a great businessman. You just remember that. You remember LeBron James is a great businessman. You just remember that. He's double his money.
LeBron James knows nothing about business.
That's the narrative.
Yeah, it's the narrative because let me put it this way, because people are they're not gonna be able to take that in proper context. He knows how to make money in arenas that have to deal with basketball. That's not financially savvy, smart business acumen. That's not what we're talking about. It's something different. If it comes to bouncing a ball, getting a sponsor, doing something of that nature, he knows how to make money all day. And it's funny because Warren Buffett had a conversation with Jay-Z before with Forbes.
The interview.
Yeah, and Jay-Z asked Warren Buffett, "What could I do to and better my finances, my wealth, and grow?" And Warren Buffett said, "You just keep doing what you're doing, and keep doing what you're good at, and that's how you're going to get more of money in your avenue. Keep doing what you're good at. Keep staying within your competence." Because you made a lot of money doing what you're doing in your lane. Continue to do what you're doing in your lane, just bigger. That's all. And that's what LeBron James should do. Stay in your lane.
That was sound advice. Sound advice.
Just stay in your lane. Get sponsorships. Yeah. Even and he did a Space Jam movie, which I did watch. I'm not going to watch it. Just a joke. But he did a Space Jam movie because he's probably not a good actor. He doesn't act, but he did a basketball movie. He's get sponsorship from athletic companies. Obviously, when he talks about social issues, he has no idea what he's doing. Again, it's not his lane. He shouldn't be talking about stuff like that. You have no idea what you're doing or saying. You're getting clowned every day, all the time, from everybody on every platform possible by the things you're saying when it comes to social justice. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're just getting clowned. But basketball-wise, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, you can sell your likeness, which he does. Even when he opened those pizza shops, he's got a chain of pizza restaurant, but you're selling your likeness.
Yeah. You know what? For a person of like in his situation, the best thing you actually could do for show social problems is on TV. When you're on TV in public eye, is actually to say nothing. But in private, whatever you believe that you don't have high knowledge on, work on it in private and don't talk about it. For example, him talking about the China thing and all this and talking about all these other aspects of social. And what did he say that one time where the officer shot the woman who tried to... The officer shot that one guy, or I think it was a woman or a guy, who tried to stab the officer shot, and thank God he saved that woman's life. He pulled out and shot that woman who tried to stab the other woman last year, and it was on the news for a little bit. But then after they saw it was justified that he shot the person who was clearly holding a knife.
Right.
And so then LeBron gets on
I know what he
TV
said. Yeah.
or gets on social media and says something of the nature like
I know what he said. He basically said African Americans are being lynched.
but he did a free he
Like,
put a picture of that officer and said something like you're next.
yeah, like
What
black people
the
are just.
hell? What the
Yeah, it was
heck
too
are you
aggressive.
doing?
Like we're back in the. Then he said we're back in the 1920s. He got very, because I remember that he got very like descriptive of like we're going backwards. Like basically, black people can't walk out their house because we're being attacked.
Yeah.
And
He
lynched.
said that. Yeah, like come
It's
on,
like,
bro, my man.
what are you
You
talking
live
about?
maybe in a 10,000 square foot home.
Yeah.
You when you
What-
step outside your door, you are not worried about getting lynched. I mean, just you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. So the best
It's
thing he can
weird
do is be
because-
quiet.
Yeah, because you got white people working for you. That doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
To flip it
yeah,
around.
exactly.
You got white people that want to work for you are probably doing everything they want to do at your footstep just because they would benefit from you. So
Right.
You have a lot of power in that regard.
Right.
So it's not even about a race thing. You just have the power because of your economic status, social economic status.
Yeah, I mean, so he just needs to stop with all that. So again, the best thing he could do is just actually just be quiet and do good deeds behind the scenes. Just like with
Which
the school, he
yeah.
never talked about the school.
It's doing, and that's fine.
He never
That's
talked
great.
about the school. And maybe if he did talk about the school before he did it, he would say some dumb stuff. He would have said something dumb. But because he didn't say anything about the school, and he just worked with the local city to get another school up and running and a little small amount of tuition or whatever for young people in his city, that was excellent because he didn't talk about it. But I know we segued off of to be talking about him. I don't want to be talking about him, but
No.
So yeah, I mean, I forgot initially what we were even talking about before we segued off into him, where our energy.
No, it was just investing. I mean, I know.
But investing like Jay-Z, for example, in just business, for example. Yeah. So again, when it, you know, the main people who are in investing, just nobody knows about. Like I said, people barely know who Warren Buffett is, and really, it's kind of like even when I don't want. I'll bring him up a tiny bit, but even like with Trump, for example, when he was running for president. It's funny because people would actually say like, Trump's not even a good businessman. He doesn't even know business. He doesn't even know money. Like people think it's unusual because if I want to become a teacher in history, I go to college, I get a history degree, and I can become a teacher in history, right? So it's hard, but not that hard. Meaning it's hard because it takes energy and it takes commitment, but it's not that hard in the sense that there is a defined pathway you can go to get there that's guaranteed. That if you do it, you get there guaranteed. When it comes to business and making money and getting financially successful, there's no guaranteed pathway to nothing. You have to create something out of nothing. And people don't understand that. They think it's like it's given or something like, oh, like it's not earned. It's actually kind of sick. We'll get more into that a little bit later. But switching lanes. For example, what do you actually think about? For example, the market. What do you think about the market right now? So obviously,
I will say right now.
Yeah, like the housing and the stock market for the next 6 months. Like, what do you think about that?
I would say right now, obviously, we're all at record highs. I think the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 just the other couple of days ago just set a new high.
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah, okay. So they said, just in that regard, just highs are being set, seems like every month now.
Yeah.
The real estate market is at an all-time high, obviously, with the prices going up. in my observation, just like anything, as things are good right now, the greed index, as they call it, the greed index, which is like an investing term, where it's actually like high right now, everybody is when you should be a little bit more skeptical, versus when everybody's panicking is when you should actually be greedy.
Yes.
As the Warren Buffett says, be fearful when everybody's greedy, be greedy when everybody's fearful.
Yes.
With that being said, everybody's greedy right now, as far as just the market being at an all-time high, and average people are making a lot on their home sales. And a lot of people are buying stocks and had a very good year last year, and probably even just this year's quarter are doing very well.
Yeah.
So in my idea, it's like with the eviction moratorium going away, I think that it's gonna cause. I mean, right now there's gonna be I think there's a shortage right now for multifamilies, single families in general. Yeah. Because the new generation coming up, or not new generation coming up, but the generation that's able to buy right now, they said are not really buying at the rate that the other generations are buying. No, they are buying. They are buying at the higher rate, like 10, 12% higher than the new college grads coming out than the previous, which is causing a real estate shortage of supply. And with the materials being as high as it is, and the job market being, as far as the what do we call it, unemployment being high, there's just a mix of stagnation in where I think it's gonna kind of plateau with the real estate, because eventually the rates can't be as low as forever. Eventually they're gonna have to go back up. I mean, the Fed's could probably push the rates up a little bit. I wouldn't say much, but right now I think they're averaging at 2.64, 2.68% average. Somewhere around there. It might be a little higher or lower, but it's definitely in the twos right now as far as the average 30-year rate. And then buyers are starting to kick back now. I noticed looking at a lot of things, buyers are starting to kick back, like we're not about to pay overpriced, because everything is overpriced right now. And they showed other cities where everything's overvalued. They showed a whole bunch of cities in California. I saw the 10 top cities where it's overpriced. They're all liberal cities, by the way. They're all like liberal cities, large inner cities. Yeah, so I'm not gonna break them down, but it is what it is.
Yeah, blue.
Your San Francisco's. We can go down the board. But they're overvalued by a long shot because of this real estate kind of boom, with them printing money and pumping all types of money, and then the lending being as kind of lax, and people are just buying and selling. I noticed in some cities the buyers are starting to kick back, and they're not willing to pay what these sellers are offering. So that in itself, because the buyers can't control them. Like if all buyers say, hey, we're not paying that, we want to pay 10, 20% less, then it'll start making corrections, if that makes sense. I started noticing that too, that some people are starting to say, like, no, I'm not about to pay with the retail value is $300,000 and you want $330 just because everybody's just buying up.
Yeah. Yeah, and that right there, that's what causes a bubble. I mean, not even a bubble, because that's what causes a catastrophic correction, and a correction that is a catastrophic correction, because, and I even made a video about this last year, that I could see this on my Business Money Finance channel, which doesn't have a lot of traction right now, but I made a video and I was showing how people are getting priced out of the market. Lumber's high. I mean, it went down, it's gone down a little bit since its peak, but lumber's high. I mean, like I said, when I did my remodeling and renovating of some properties, and sorry guys, that's why I was out the last 5-6 months. I was working on some investments and things of that nature. We'll get into that a little bit later on the Business Money Finance channel, or maybe even here, but a little bit later. And a 2x4, which is usually $2 and change. A 2x4 was like almost $10.
Yeah,
And
unbelievable.
I remember being in, I think it was either Lowe's or Home Depot, looking at it, and I was like, oh, this can't be right. I mean, I arrogantly went to the teller, one of the people working in there, and I arrogantly said, oh, I just wanted to get some 2x4s, but obviously your pricing is wrong. I mean, obviously I'm trying to get 7 boards here, and we're talking about $100. I mean, obviously it's not right. There's no way this is this. And they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, sir, lumber went up. So then I checked the commodities rate, the commodities market, and damn near lumber had literally shot up like, one of Elon's rockets. And it's just, and so with the fact that lumber has gone up, and the lumber has gone up due to inflation and the housing market response, and I made a video showing that people are actually getting priced out of the market because there is a correlation with supply and demand. So how is it that we're in a situation where restrictions have let up a lot, but still people are not able to move around like they want with all the mandates? They're not able to freely go into a place like everywhere they want, like without masks, without 6 feet, or without being 6 feet, which is an arbitrary number, being fully open and not having to clean every 2 hours, and vaccinations, and people still are not at the full capacity as far as income and working that they want to be, that they could be, the most productive that they could be, because the government has a stranglehold on it. So the employment market is not doing as fierce as it could be doing, but yet everything's going up as if it is. So obviously that's an indicator that there is a problem. Inflation is already showing signs that there's a problem. The Fed ignores it. And the housing market is increasing at a rate because of different reasons, because there's not enough supply. How is there not enough supply when the employment category is not even as healthy or as fresh as it could be? There's a lot of indicators here that show something is not right. And then you get the people from the Fed, and you even get somebody like Cathie Wood say, well, I believe everything's fine. And you got your guys like Rickens, like Richard Rickens. I hate to butcher his name. I know his last name is Rickens. Sorry, Rickens, if I'm saying your name wrong. I'm probably going to have him on the show eventually in the future. And you got guys like Michael Burry, Big Short, right?
Yeah.
These guys all see, and Harry Dent, also he's had conversations with, well, he hasn't had conversations with Mr. Occupy Wall Street. What's his name?
Mr.
Mr. Occupy Wall Street. We had that viral video where he's talking to people on the street. Damn, why can't I think of his name?
Yeah, it is. It was clever what he did. Is it it's not Peter? Is it Peter?
Yeah, Peter Schiff.
Yeah.
Yes, Peter Schiff.
Yeah.
So, and then
yeah, he's funny. Yeah, you got to tell people to check some of those videos out on YouTube. They're pretty good.
Where's a Jamie at when you need him?
Oh yeah,
Joe Rogan. He's got Jamie. Yeah. So obviously this is bothering me. But anyways, all of these individuals, they 100% see a correction. And what bothers me is like,
right.
And I just got to be honest, because in my opinion, and I hate to say this, but we're all about honesty, and I just got to be honest, and it's what I know and understand. Jim Rickards is his name. Jim Rickards. He's the one also who understands the financial. He's an economist. I'm gonna have him on the show hopefully in the future. This is you, Jim. But anyways, for example, like, so Michael Burry is very, very outspoken about the market and where the economy is going to go. He has no problem speaking out. Even the SEC went to his house to tell him, listen, your tweets are, what are you trying to do here? Are you trying to get the market to crash? Because you're tweeting out heavy and you're in the news heavy because you're saying there's a correction coming, very heavy. So the SEC, they went to his house, and it wasn't actually to see if he's trying to cause the market to crash. It's really, they just want him to shut up. I mean, that's what that's what the government does. Even though I love our government, they will do things. For example, like Michael Starnhart, who was a big hedge fund investor back in the day during the Warren Buffett time, and he owns Wisdom Tree. He's the CEO of Wisdom Tree Investments right now. Even he said back in the day when he had a hedge fund that sometimes the government, they'll just hit you with a fine, or the SEC, they'll hit you with a fine, not because you did anything wrong, but for the simple fact is they just kind of like the mob. They just want you to pay up. They just want you to they don't like what you're doing. They don't like you. They don't like what you're doing. We don't like what he's doing. Investigate him. I mean, it's just as simple as that. But so all these people know there's some type of correction coming. The market is not looking right. But obviously on the blue end, if you understand what I mean, on the left end, the left, not radical left, but the left, moderate, liberal left, financial marketers and individuals who are in that field in their way of thinking want to play in that everything is fine. Even everything that has happened the past year, and inflation is not a problem. The housing market is not a problem. Employment is not a problem, even though everyone is back and we can't, or people are allowed to go back, and we can't find people for employment at lower wages because nobody wants to work because of the unemployment. That's not a problem. Where companies are like, we'll give you a $1,000 bonus just to work at McDonald's because nobody wants to be there. That's not a problem. That's not a problem, right? The imputed value that's being pumped into cryptocurrencies and companies like Tesla, that's not a problem. And this is something like, for example, like Cathie Wood says, oh, we're long. I don't see any of that as a problem. The Fed, I don't see any of that as a problem. And the Fed even uses a new term now when they talk about inflation. I forget the term they use, some new term, and which means that inflation is just slightly temporary. It's not a long-term problem. And no, that's not how inflation works. It's not how inflation works. You just don't have you just don't have inflation. It's like cancer. It's like, yeah, it comes on slowly to where you don't even notice it, but once it's there, it's like impossible to get rid of. That's what it's not like a cold. The inflation is not like a cold where you get sick and it's bad, you're bad for a day, you're bad for a week, you take medication and then you're fixed. That's not how inflation is. It's not how it is. It's permanent. It's permanent. It comes on slowly and it's permanent. You can't reverse it. There's no going back. So
how the economy's structured.
So I think even though for us listening to Cathie Wood, for example, is not a problem, but I think Cathie Wood as somebody on the outside who's learning about investing, who wants to idolize her, I don't think it's good. Not because for the future, her ideologies on technology and how she feels about technology won't be true, because it has been true, because she's felt that way for many years, that technology will prevail. That's why she's doing good now, and she wasn't doing good before, right? Because her ideology wasn't, like James Cameron didn't catch up with the times. But now that she's into tech and disruptive companies, that's the thing now. But here's the thing. When it comes to investing and being an investor, there's certain fundamentals you got to learn and understand about the market, about the economy, about different fundamentals to understand how things will always work, right? She has a behavior that's very attractive to young people. Why? Because young people are addicted to things that constantly change. Older people hate things that change. They like things that they know stay the same, that they've seen for 60 years, that have always worked. So old people are smart because they know what works. Young people are smart because they know what changes. So because she's wrapped around something that changes all the time, and she speaks about what is going on, the current financial market, that the way it is now, it's not helpful or beneficial to somebody who's learning and or trying to get a perspective and get grounded in investing. Because for her to say, well, there's no problems, technology will prevail, I don't think that technology will solve all our problems, especially in the financial market. The technology does nothing for the financial market as a whole.
Right.
Unless we get rid of the Dow Jones and half of the S&P, and we just have the Nasdaq, the technology market can't drive the whole entire world. Even though we rely on it. Now, so you have to take that into context, right? But like the housing market isn't tech. The food industry isn't tech. Gas industry isn't tech.
Commodities, yeah.
Commodities aren't tech. Yeah, this right here is tech, but do we actually need this? No. We don't need this. Do I need this? Will I die if I don't have this?
No. It's an enhancement.
It's an enhancement to our life.
No doubt.
Because it's an enhancement to our life, it's not a fundamental. And there is big financial money into this. But this is not what I should teach you when it comes to life. The basics is what I should teach you when it comes to life. And it's the same thing with investing. And that's the only problem I have with her. Not her in general, but her style and financial advice.
It's kind of like what's the word we would like to say? It's fashionable. Like the way it's very fashionable, the way the kids want to invest when it comes to the ARK K and the ARK Gs, and it's, you know, with everything's Tesla, Bitcoin, it's very, very fashion. So like you said, when it comes to investing with fundamentals, if you were already set your eyes on tech before tech was what it is today, then you were just investing with biases. You wasn't investing based on what worked, because if it worked, you would invest in a different way before. If you get what I'm saying, if it was garbage when she started, and you wanted to work because you had foresight, then you wasn't investing because you were fundamentally sound. You were investing because you had bias, and then you were just hoping that bias just actually worked when it does. So that means you were basically gambling. You're speculating would be a better term.
Speckling, yes. The speckling would be a better term, yes.
Yeah. So you're doing that instead of saying that you're a good investor. But now you have the numbers to back it up. So now people are like, well, obviously she knows what you're talking about because she now has the freaking confirmation. She has the social proof now.
Yes.
To be able to say, I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. Because if you're a true investor, it doesn't matter what the investment is. Tone's like, oh, tech was 10 years ago, but tech's not today. So I'm investing different today than I did 10 years ago because I move and change with the wind because I'm fundamentally sound. So I'm not biased on anything.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like I find people when they only want to invest in one niche, I really don't like listening to them.
Yes.
Even people that are heavy just real estate only. I don't even like listening to people that are just to one thing.
Yes.
You can only buy multifamilies. Don't buy single families. Oh, you can only flip single families. Don't buy commercial. I don't like people like that. It's just you start getting too biased.
You do become too biased, and it's because of a lack of objectivity in the complete market. You know, another type of group or individual people where there are some people who are just, I'm just crypto. I'm just crypto.
Yeah, you hear that too.
That
Yeah.
is so bad. It's like it's so bad. It's so bad. And here's the thing. Let me give a disclaimer. Here's the thing. Moving forward, 100 years from now, 50 years from now, 25 years from now, who knows? Everything might be crypto. And obviously that would be a sick problem, because then if everything turns crypto, then my prediction is 25% of the people, it's going to be like the movie Ready Player One, right? It's going to be a life like that, where, and then what's going to happen is 25% of the people are just going to be crypto thieves, where they just hack into people's crypto and steal it. And then actually 50-75% of people will probably be working actually to make the to work for crypto as a currency. But then most people are going to be like, get into the business of just stealing it, because how do you secure it and everything? But more so moving forward, let's say in a 50, 75, 25, 100 years from now, tech is everything, the crypto is everything. It still will not change the fact that the world moves around food that we need, exercise that we need, houses that we need, transportation that we need, the fundamentals. That will never change. And excuse me for my Warren Buffett style, but Warren Buffett believed in investing on things that we'll always need, that will never change. That if it does change, it'll change in a nuanced way, but it won't change completely. Like, invest in the wheel. The wheel will get better, and it has gotten better over time. Before, the first interpretation of the wheel was a rock and made it into a circle. Now we have tires they have tires that don't even flat anymore. Great. You know what I mean? So you can enhance the wheel, but we will always need the wheel. So
100%, yeah.
It's not, it just gives you it doesn't equip you to have all the fundamental information that you need in order to move forward in life. It really puts you at a disadvantage. And once you go in that direction, you can't go back. I mean, like, if, for example, to give an example of something that's highly correlated, is when a young lady, for example, is so attractive that she can be unintelligent, unmotivated, bad cognitive behaviors, all type of cognitive biases and mental fallacies, and even where she creates mental illness for herself due to her socialization, all of these different things. But as long as she's highly attractive and she is proportioned in the right areas and men gawk at her, she will get a false notion that will confirm her biased perspective of life. And once she goes years of that perspective and the plasticity gets hard, she'll never be able to go back. So you won't be able to give her information on traditionalism, that as traditionalism works. She won't understand that at all. She'll think that you're speaking Chinese or you're just trying to be a misogynist when you give her information about how things normally go as a whole. But because she'll see life anecdotally, her whole life will just be a complete anecdotal movie. And to be able to give to objective perspective on what the facts are will not make any sense to her. So it goes the same way with all of this, and that's why I don't like it. I think, like, fundamentally, it's like, that's why in sports you teach fundamentals first before you teach somebody to catch with one hand. You have to. So
master the basics.
So that's my take on that. I'm gonna change lanes real quick, if you don't mind, unless you got something to add on that.
No. I mean, you pretty much hit the nail, the hammer.
Yeah. So I'm gonna change lanes on that note. And on that note, I'll say, well, what do you got to think? What is your whole perspective on? Obviously, the current media and information on the news as of now is the situation in dealing, obviously, with the current administration in Biden and what has happened in Afghanistan, for example. And I want to know what your take is on how Biden has handled the situation and how, whether should we have pulled out or should we have stayed there, how he handled it, and how he continues to handle it from start even till now. Like, what's your overall perspective, opinion on it?
All right. So I obviously just kind of started from a baseline. I started at a baseline and moved down. So I know when Obama was in office that he had plans to reducing troops in Afghanistan, but he abandoned that plan. I want to say he abandoned that plan, and he still kept like 5,500 troops in Afghanistan. Then Trump came along, and then when he did it, he was looking to reduce it, and I want to say he wanted to reduce it to half, to where it was like 2,500, right? So kind of just seeing the trend there between different presidencies and then reduce it. I still see the common theme that they wanted to reduce it over time. It seemed like it was just unanimous amongst different parties that they wanted to pull the troops out. So I guess when it got to Biden, I want to say that when Biden came in, that there was already a plan to pull all the troops out, correct? So
yes.
That wasn't a formal, it was just during his inauguration, it was already kind of set that, hey, we already had a defined date. Now, he could have honored it or not honored it.
Right, because like you said, the other presidents have all, that was what they initiative was going in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of them adjusted, but him.
Yeah. Right. There it is. Yeah. So they're adjustments. Yeah. So I'm kind of going with that course. So I want to say, so my thought is this is just my thought. I want to say, I think it was August 8th, 9th, probably 10th. I want to say it was August 10th was when I think the White House said that the takeover with the Taliban is not inevitable. I swear to God, I remember that quote, because I remember watching, because they watch CNN at work all day long. They were like, the takeover is not inevitable. It's not certain. It ain't going to happen, right? 5 freaking days later, which is August 15th, is when, not weeks later, just 5 days later, the government collapses, the Taliban takes over Kabul. You can't, to me, I was at work laughing. I was like, yeah, because the administration was saying, wherever they're getting their information from, it's like, where are you guys getting your information from for you to be that certain and use words that it's not inevitable for a takeover? And then the takeover happens. And then I guess when you look at the concept of them, Biden said, yeah, I'm pulling everybody by August 31, it's done. Obviously, I could see in one facet, concept, I could see it costs over the course of 20 years, we're talking about $2.26 trillion of money spent. They said it's like $300 million a day for 20 years is how much it's costing us being in Iraq. It's the estimated. So it's a lot of money being spent. So you're looking at Uncle Sam's tax dollar being spent. What are we gaining? Then from that standpoint, from a business standpoint, from an ROI, I look at it like, what are we gaining? Not saying you should pull out doing this, but it's almost from a financial, what are we gaining? And for it to happen and to give the Afghani security and troops that much training over a course of decades, and for it to get wiped out like that in 2 weeks, says that there's got to be corruption. There's got to be a lot of corruption and a lot of basically where the morale eroded, and they just started working corrupted for it to be that quick. Because there's no way you could train up something that long, give them all the resources they need, and then just like that, their forces just get taken over 2 days, a few days. So that's my opinion. That's just my opinion. So it's like, with that being said, it's almost like you can't say that there's no chance for them to have a modern democracy over there for you being over 20 years. So I do know that with the suicide bombings occurred, I guess once 170 Afghans died and 13 U.S. soldiers, correct? Yeah, 13 U.S. soldiers. So rest in peace to
whose fault?
For the 13 soldiers.
Our fault. Biden's fault. Nobody's fault. Freak accident.
Oh no, it's our fault. Yeah, no, it's our fault because I think they had an opportunity.
The government's fault, or Biden's fault for pulling out, or
I want to say Biden's fault because they left only 650 troops there. I want to say that there was a small number. I think he pulled out too many troops and didn't do it in a way where they got intel. They already knew that if there was already corruption involved, which there has to be, there was already intel and it's pretty blunt that it was out in public that, hey, we're pulling out. This is the set day. So if there is corruption involved, you already know when your strike time is. Right? So, I mean, that happened, August 26th? The strikes happened August 26th from my memory. And August 31 is when you have supposed to have the last soldier. And he said he wasn't going to, I remember he said what's happening in Afghanistan is gut-wrenching. And he still stands on, even though he's going to say he's not taking blame for what happened, he says he still stands firm on pulling all the soldiers out. That he doesn't change on. That I saw, quote unquote, that he said that even, because what is it, ISIS-K, the Khorasan?
Yeah.
Or something like that, ISIS-K,
yeah.
The affiliate terrorist group.
So was that a good idea to pull the troops out? Like, I know you said, okay, there's no return on investment. All right, and we have been training them for a period of time. Yeah. And as a result of pulling out, ISIS has taken over, and we've had a handful of troops die. Military personnel die. Should we have pulled out, and who's to blame?
I mean, the president's going to be to blame. The pull out, I do agree to pull out. I don't know if I would have pulled out the way they did. Just over the course, I just can't justify just staying in a war over that long, where we already made a peace. I thought we made something with Trump, made a peace treaty with the Taliban, saying that what they could do and work with the Afghanity and make some diplomacy amongst themselves, and that they're not dealing with them, and that, hey, just as long as you guys follow some type of human rights stuff or whatever. I remember there was when Trump had met up with them and had some type of peace treaty or something that was being, I don't know what the name of the bill was or whatever it was called, but I know they had some type of conversation. And obviously it looked like Trump was willing to pull the troops out too. I would say that it's weird because now that the troops have died, Biden's promising a retaliation, which is, we'll get you, we'll hunt you down, you'll pay for it, in his quotes, quote unquote. Basically, we'll hunt you down, we'll make you pay. We won't forgive, we won't forget, we will not forgive, we will hunt you down, and we will make you pay. End of quote. So it sounds like you're going to put troops back in there anyway.
Right.
From that.
So in the end, I mean, just from what you're saying, not even putting my perspective in it, pulling out was not smart. I mean, just from listening, if I were to listen to you without my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts because I've never thought it through.
Because I'm listening just from what you're saying. You're like, we were there. Like you said, we were there. No financial return, no gain. We helped them. There appears to be corruption.
Yes.
And that is more, and Biden is kind of to blame because he's the president, but more so the corruption is to blame. And he says that we should stay there. He says that problems was inevitable and he was going to pull out inevitable, and he believes that even though the results happened, it's something that needed to be done. And there was probably a zero, there was probably a non-zero probability that there was going to be problems. So now that there is problems, he's saying we're going to retaliate.
Yeah, so you're at fault. You're at fault because of the fact that you said that we did not anticipate a takeover. For you to go on the record and publicly say that it's not inevitable for them to have a takeover, it's not even probable, and then it happens 5 days later, not months, not years later.
Yeah.
A few days later.
Yeah.
That is where I say you're 100% at fault, because that means your information was not accurate.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming at the fault. I'm coming at the fault because of the transition between when it was certain that American troops were getting out, the corruption, or whatever you want to call it, the corruption or the eroded morale of the people there. It's pretty much said that you should know that. You should have an idea if your troops on the ground and you have information that was pretty evident if that was the case. And they said that these people, or these Afghan people, are not getting paid any decent, whether they're wasting their life. They're losing 10,000 people a year. I heard like 10,000 people a year. We lost 13 troops, but they're losing like tens of thousands a year over years of 20 years. There's no, if you're an Afghani fucking soldier, it's not really much, you know what I'm saying? I can see corruption. It's not really much promise that you want to risk your life for what?
Yeah.
You know, so I can see the corruption. They're not getting paid any wages. They're probably not getting good food, shelter. There's probably a lot of stuff that goes into corruption when it comes to poor people in that demographic. So add to that, I'm not surprised at the corruption. That should have been something that should have been thought of. My question is, with the Taliban taking over, what does that mean for the women?
Yeah, well.
The question that I have.
Well, maybe some of the young ladies in our country should go over there and find out. I mean, since they think our country is so bad.
Yeah.
Some of them say they're not making enough money here. It's unfair. It's a patriarchy. So maybe some of them should go over there and find out. But I mean, but aside from that, you obviously you've been following it, and from my take on it is that the goal was always eventually to pull out, but my response to this is an obvious indication that we never should have pulled out. It's obvious to me. Yeah. And it's so obvious that the two presidents beforehand went into, and obviously Biden is the dumbest out of Obama and Trump. Biden is it is what it is. You can call it because he's old, because he's senile, because he's whatever. He is the dumbest out of Obama and Trump. I mean, Obama and Trump are up into the stratosphere. Biden is lost somewhere in another country trying to find his seat. I mean, and that's literally what has happened. No pun. I mean, no metaphor intended. But the goal was always, like I said, from each administration, the goal was to go in and come out. But they saw that we could not come out. We could not without what we have got right now. Yeah, and okay, Biden understood there will be bloodshed, but while we were there, for our troops, there was no bloodshed. In the past 5 to 10 years, we're talking about less casualties than 13 people. There was no bloodshed. We are in all countries all around the world on our bases, monitoring the countries, having intel. We are better there than not there. Even if there was no Taliban situation, it is good for us as the world leaders, the big brother of all the other countries in the world, to be everywhere. As simple as that. Looking around, observing, and watching our our friends and foe. We need to be watching. If that's a smart thing to do. So to get out of Afghan when there's only like 2,500 military personnel there, to do what? Get out to do what? They weren't dying. They weren't at war. It was no war. There was no more war. That's why you pulled out. If there was a war right now, we'd still be there. You wanted to pull out because there is no war. There is no war going on. That's why you pulled out. But now that we pulled out, there is a war. You pulling out started a war. Us being there with the presence kept things down. And it is what it is. I mean, the fact that we were training them doesn't mean nothing, because it doesn't appear that they're sophisticated enough to learn our ways and learn what we're doing, because the Taliban appears to be more sophisticated than the actual government.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't just teach them how to have to use tanks and to use helicopters and teach them how to run a militia when they don't know how to run a government. We have to go there and teach them how to run a government, have a government. Listen, you got Taliban people in your country, and you need to get some amendments. You need to get a declaration to say, if you are a terrorist of this country, you go to jail for 20 years, you get executed. If you're Taliban, you get executed. You have to do things like that.
Yeah.
And your government has to enforce it. And the people who are good Samaritan people have to be on board. That's how you do it. If you really want to help, we can't just give them stuff. Yeah. Otherwise, we have to stay there and be military security guards. Otherwise, if we do pull out, the behavior and the result is iatrogenic. We went in to help, and us pulling out has made things more worse than it was than before we even went in. We should have never pulled out.
Yeah, and if you really have your advisors per se telling you that on the ground, which I think a lot of military professionals and people with high rank were saying that they're vulnerable. That I saw a lot of high-ranking military officials were saying that they're vulnerable if we do pull out, which you would know if you were dealing with them. You would know that they were not prepared with the Taliban, because you also have to know the Taliban. For us to be Americans, to provide security, we would have to know what the Taliban's capable of doing. And then you would have to know where the Afghan security forces were up against before we left, to know that it would be taken over in a couple of days. That's what I don't understand, because it's like that stuff should be, your advisors should be telling you all this, to where you can make a conscientious decision.
See, that's the thing. He probably got a lot of advisors, a lot of people in his ear, a lot of people telling, but it's all a 50% from an objective standpoint. It's from an ideology that's 50% on that side, with not listening to the other objectivity on that. It's subjective. Everybody is subjective on that side, putting stuff in his ears, and he's not competent enough to decipher what's important. He's like Niall Ferguson, I think, who tried to become the Prime Minister of the UK. Very intelligent guy. Even he said, he had an interview with Candace Owens not too long ago, but even he said, like, you get into politics for two reasons. And it's even in the TV show The House of Cards, where in The House of Cards they say you get into politics for money or power, right?
Right.
But when it comes to what he said, basically, which is you get into politics to be a pleaser or to make change. And Biden is in there not to actually make change. He's in there to be a pleaser. So he's trying to please the areas that, no, it's not a leader. And that not only is that not a leader, but it's what everybody thinks is a leader.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Being a pleaser is what people identify as a leader. Making tough decisions is what people identify as a tyrant. It's opposite in nature.
Yeah, it's ass backwards for sure.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, for him to have actually got on record and says I think he even said that he's rejecting all the blame for what's happened as the president.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Well,
to say it
he's
on
got to
the
do that to
record,
sleep at night.
yeah, it's like
If he can't sleep at night if he doesn't do that.
Yeah, that means you can't be a pleaser, because what you tried to please is now your downfall. That's why, as a leader, you have to make decisions you don't understand, because it reverts back onto you.
Yes.
As the leader. So I don't need you to understand why I made a decision, because you're not taking the brunt of the decision. You're not taking the full force of the decision. So for him, it's like you shouldn't be a people pleaser, because all decisions revert back to you, not the people you're pleasing.
Yeah.
Which is weird for him to even have that type of handle on things, which is so gentle. But I mean, it is embarrassing that you have something for 20 years and it's gone. It's over 2 weeks. You know, something that troops has fought their whole military career was dealing with Afghanistan and the stuff that they accomplished and got in place, and maybe was moving forward in a little bit. And then for it to just be kind of ended the way it did, for the war to kind of ended in the way it did, it's a little distasteful.
And you know what? And I know you've noticed it, because I've noticed it. I know you noticed it. How when Trump was president, people were obsessed with the day-to-day micro events. Oh, look at Trump. I mean, look how he's drinking water. He's such a terrible person. But even with this type of situation, people are not talking about it as much as they would if Trump picked his nose on TV. I mean, I'm serious. Like, if Trump told a reporter, hey, why don't you go ask China? That would be on that would be the biggest thing all of our colleagues would be talking about every day, all day. Yeah.
Oh no,
but with this situation, a week from now it'll be forgotten. A week from now it'll be forgotten. People are, you know what I'm saying? Because, for example, how you were able to notice that they said one thing on a particular day. A few days later, he said something completely different. Nobody remembers, and they don't care. If it was Trump, then they would remember. But with him, they give him a pass. It's all given a pass, because come election time, all of this will be forgotten. People will be saying Biden was a great president. He was better than Trump. He was excellent. It will all be forgotten. Mark my word. Because that's how it is. When Trump was president, people don't remember when he was running for president, he worked on or did everything he said. He worked on it or did everything he said. They don't remember that. But when it comes to like Biden, for example, when it comes to time for re-election or something, they'll forget every terrible thing he ever did. They'll forget it. They'll just say he was great.
Yeah. And I can't take a person like that serious. I mean, I can't either. Especially when he acknowledged, the president acknowledged that the collapse of the Afghan government happened much more quickly than we anticipated. He said that on TV. He says, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that the takeover didn't happen a lot quicker than we thought. The fact that he acknowledged that it happened much quickly than anticipated, He acknowledged it, but then he says, I don't take blame for it, though. That's like, at one point, it's like, well, you were going in the right direction, and then you retract it.
Yeah.
But then again, that didn't get blown out. That was just something I saw because it just happened to be on TV at the time. But it wasn't something that was, it wasn't something. But his approval rating went down a lot. It might come back up, but his approval rating went down. His approval rating went down a lot.
and it's going to.
And that was probably a combination of a lot of things, though. But it still probably will bounce back over a few months, though. It probably will get back to where it needs to be just because of how the left is. But it's down as of right now. It lost, but I don't know if it went down as much as people would like it to go. No,
the approval rating scale numerologically is not even. It's skewed. It's not even fair because. Right now, to be honest, probably Biden even still has a higher approval rating than Ronald Reagan did during his best times. So you can't even look at it's. I mean,
Yeah.
you can look
Come
at
on.
it as a, yeah. I mean, it's sick. You can look at it as a means of ups and downs, but you can't look at the actual score because the score is skewed.
Yeah.
You know, the you can look at the nets from day to day, up and down. Okay, well, he went up, he went down. Let's say he went up a few 3%. Okay, so he did something good. He went down 10%. Oh, he's doing terrible. You could look at it from that, but you can't look at the net number, the gross number. Excuse me, because it is skewed. Because gross, he has a higher approval rating than Ronald Reagan did during
Yeah, so
Ronald
that's-
Reagan's
yeah.
best absolute year.
Yeah, come on now. And
Yeah,
everybody
it's
on both sides agrees Ronald Reagan was a great president on both sides of the political spectrum.
Oh yeah,
so
he's
that's
voted
not
as he's voted as far as people who are alive, older people who are alive. He's voted as the greatest president of all time.
Yeah. So there you go, and that's straight bipartisan.
Yeah, from people who are 50 and up, or maybe even 45 and up. People who are 50 and up, and you ask them who's the greatest president of all time. You did a poll. Ronald Reagan is the greatest president of all time.
Yeah. And rightfully so. It's got to back it up.
So changing lanes here.
Yeah.
Right. So changing lanes here. Did you see Larry Elder? You know the one of the greats. I mean, Larry Elder. He's been running for governor in California, and he's actually kind of leading.
I saw that. Yeah, I've seen some stuff that I guess he said that got on the news. I see some. Yeah, Larry Elder. It is interesting in California with everything going on that I guess him having those South Central ties and growing up in LA, being from Crenshaw, and it being a radio personality for so long.
Yeah.
His ability to be trusted. It's almost kind of like how kind of Biden is. It's like, well, what dirt do you have on somebody that's been in that kind of spotlight for 30 years?
Yeah.
You know, he's pretty much said everything you can. There's not really too much to surprise you about Larry Elder since he's been on radio since the early 90s.
Yeah.
And he's talked about what he believes in and kind of what he's about. There's really no political, like, I'm trying to, play the political game. What he stands by is what he stands by. That's kind of how I look at somebody like him running. It's like there's really he's a libertarian, is what he says. He's a libertarian. So I definitely like it because he's like because right now him running for governor, of course, a lot of his dirt pops up, and I saw the one from I guess 2011 when he had that sexual assault claim. And just knowing just about Larry Elder and everybody that knows him could laugh at this. He was like, well, if you saw the picture of her, that would be enough evidence in itself because she was way too unattractive for me to do any sexual assault. just knowing how he is, that was what his comment was. It's like, her picture alone was her defense. That's how you know she's making it up. Too unattractive.
But it's funny. Forget the name of the movie, but what's that guy's name who was Wolverine? What is his name as an actor?
Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman. So he played in this movie, The Candidate, I believe. And it's about, I think, in the 70s or 80s. And it just, what I took away from the movies, because I love movies.
All day long.
What was very pivotal is that, like, before the 70s or 80s, politics didn't get personal. Like, politicians, you could sleep with hookers, you could be doing coke the next, on your campaign trails, and people saw it, they never said anything. It never got personal. But then, once they noticed in politics that was a great tool, they started using it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it's become the way to do politics is to be
Political
personal.
warfare now. It's like
Yeah.
political warfare.
And people only want to view politics in that way. And it's actually sad because it
extremely
takes away.
ad hominem. It's an ad hominem.
It is.
Where people get to people's personal characteristics of something
It
that
is.
has nothing to do with your political, like Gavin Newsom right now. I mean, the fact that he's running it like a dictatorship. There's no way you can tell me he's not being a dictator of how he's trying to do stuff in California. And that might be an extreme word, dictating. But
No.
the fact that he's trying to mandatory every state employee to get the vaccination, and he's trying to make everybody wear masks, and you figure when you're in a country like that, you should, even what you believe or don't believe in, is pro-choice. That's why I think Elder has a chance, because he believes in as he said, he believes in that he opposes gun control, and I think he said minimum wage too. I know that throws people off because a lot of people don't want to hear that. He's opposed to minimum wage, and then I think he believes like climate change is a waste of money. It's not worth the cost.
It's
He
not.
said that. He's
mean,
right though, but he's so logical anyway. And then he said he dismisses the gender wage gap as a myth. Says that welfare and fatherless families pose a far greater threat than racial, not racial, but systemic racism.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all stuff that if you look at the data, he's right. I mean, fatherless and welfare in the black communities is way more of a threat than systemic racism by far.
Yeah.
Systemic racism would probably be at the bottom of this. But it's just the stuff we read, like what he's about. It's like he's more, less government, more pro-choice, more pro-liberty, right? Which is, you would think that would be a thing that everybody would want in their government. Forget right or left, just in general.
Right.
Just to have the government not impose so many things and you just have the choice. Like, he's not anti-vax. He took the vaccination, but he's just saying, why are we forcing people to get the vaccination? I'm going to advise people, to encourage people to get it, but I'm not going to force people to get it. There's a difference.
Right.
As a leader, Tone or Rembrandt, Mr. Rembrandt, I'm going to advise that you get it. This is why. But you have the choice to not.
Right.
But once you impose something on somebody, you're no longer, it's no longer freedom at that point. It's basically saying it's my way or the highway. I mean, like, I think he calls it, you ever heard the stuff where he says, he calls it a victocrat? A victocrat? He said, remember he said it's a mentality that he admitted that describes those who bitch and moan and complain of outside forces, that basically said it holds them back and holds them down. I called them victocrats.
Yeah.
Victocrat. That play the victim. He says, that's the part he's trying to get rid of. He wants to get rid of that, But I will say that his claim, I think he got a little flack for making a claim about saying that he made a claim that young people don't need the COVID vaccine. You saw that, and they kind of took that out of proportion because they were in the interview. I guess I forget who was interviewing. He was like, I don't believe the science suggests that young people need to get vaccinated, and I believe the science suggests that young people don't have to wear masks. And on top of that, young people are not likely to contract the pandemic. I'll just say pandemic. And when they do, the symptoms are not they're more likely to be mild, and they're not likely to be hospitalized, and they're certainly not likely to die. This is in quotes. And the guys tick it out and says, well, we have an uptick in cases. And it's like, again, and this is just my thought, just hear me out. And this is me just understanding public safety. So if you have uptick in cases, which doesn't mean anything because you got to challenge things by deaths. It's 436 deaths from 0 to 18, right? Of people that died. It's 436. There's like 670,000 deaths. Do the math on that. It's like 0.000. It's the 10,000th of a percent of 1%. 10,000th, right? You look at that, and then on top of the percentage of the mortality rate, I think they say only 1.8%. It's like a 98 point something survival rate. And out of that 1.8%, 79% of it is 65 or older, right? So then it's out of that 1.8, 65 and older. So we're not even talking about young. So then I started thinking, I said, most people, when it comes to this illness stuff, are hypochondriacs. You have to say they're hypochondriacs, because if I'm being pumped, and to be fair, people are average at best. Jordan Peterson says people are just average at best. So if people are average at best, and you fill their heads up with social media talking about the upticks in cases, and your government's telling you, and everybody that has authority figures are saying that you need to get it, eventually I might feel like I'm sick. I might even feel like I need to go to the hospital. And I'm only saying this because I want to put out how I know this, but I'm in the field real time. I see this hypochondriac stuff happen all day long. Day long. So I just want to put that out there just for the listener. I want to put that out there. Look up hypochondriac and tell me, and you see why that it's appropriate to what I'm saying. It's like to be fair, people's minds are strong. Your mind can believe whatever you want. That's why depression is real. It's a state of mind. It's not nothing seriously happening to you as far as an actual cardiovascular issue or diabetes or something that's actually happening. It's like if your mind tells you no, you might feel like you're having an issue. You need to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And another thing too, to be fair, if my job is involved where the incubator of sick people come to the hospital, I don't like it when hospital people say, oh, I'm at the hospital and all I'm seeing is this, and this, and people die left and right. That's like a firefighter saying, oh, I see a lot of fire. There fires are happening everywhere, but you're like, I never seen a house fire. It's my job to see fires. It's my job to see car accidents. It's your job to see sick people. I don't like the argument when medical professionals start using that, and that's an incubator for where sick people go, and you start telling me it's happening all the time. Well, duh, it's the hospital. Am I making sense, or does that make sense to? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Like looking at it from that standpoint.
Absolutely.
Like you can't use medical professionals, or they blow stuff out of proportion. That's the house of where it is, because you might be a cop and say like, yeah, I see murder, rapists, robbers all day long, but I might say I'm a person outside like they don't exist to me. But it's your job. You see them all day long. Right. So it's not fair for you to say there's all these threats out there when they're not really that true on the overall totality of the population.
Absolutely.
It's a small, like you were saying about statistics. It's like a hyper. You know what I'm saying? It's a hyper focus.
Yes.
And it's got stretched out.
Yes.
And extrapolated.
Yes.
So now it's like for what Larry Aaron, just backing up what Larry Aaron said, the statistics, science does show that kids don't need to wear a mask, but Gavin Newsom says he flipped it on him and saying that he's basically going against science. He's trying to get people more exposed, and he's trying to use that and saying that he's, what do you call it? He's basically radical and rage, basically saying that he's trying to use that against him when he said that basically.
It's just crazy how that's the narrative and you're demonized for saying anything else. I mean, I thought, why isn't it that like people to have choice is like considered a devilish thing now? You know what I mean? It's considered like, I want choice for myself. I want choice for my kids. No, you can't. Because your choice is somehow going to affect every single person, every single body. Well, how convenient that you use that argument when it comes to this. Because for example, the person on government assistance is not helping us. Yeah, they're helping themselves, but the amount of taxpayer income that's used to now, I'm not saying we shouldn't, but I'm saying that the fact that that situation, for example, doesn't help anybody but that particular person, and it actually is pulling away from other people, is a situation where, well, okay, it's benefiting them, but it's hurting others. But we let people have choice and the opportunity to go and get those different avenues. So in this particular situation, why can't people have the choice to put them in education or not with the risk that they know. They're the parents. But we say, oh, because they're putting other people at risk. Well, every single day, all of us in some way, shape, or form are putting other people at risk at something. What are you talking about? Yo, it's terrible. And the thing is that the fact that that ideology lives and you're not allowed, they want to suppress any other type of ideology, and the conversation is not even allowed to be had. The conversation is not allowed to be had. You're demonized for even having it.
Like, for instance, like you said, people like to use, well, if you don't get the shot, you're putting others at risk. That's selfish. No, there's a statistic that shows that secondhand smoke kills 40-something thousand people a year, every year. Secondhand smoke. And you can say, well, cigarettes are legal, and yet statistically people smoke and do secondhand. And we're not talking about at restaurants where they regulate it. We're talking about people at home, at the home where they're smoking in front of their kids. It's stuff that you can't regulate. And yet they still smoke, and people still get secondhand and still die from secondhand smoke all the time. And that's just one stat. I can go over some other stats. But these are things that are already in place that you are not known because it's not sensationalized on the news.
Yes.
So now something's on the news. Now you can go up to me, well, did you get your shot? Oh, you're evil. You're trying to kill people and innocent people because you refuse to get vaccinated. You're an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're only saying that because that's the knowledge that you have right now, and you use that.
The fact that this individual next to me can't do the job the way I can do the job is causing us to have to do more because they can't keep up. We don't fire them because of that. The fact that I can do the job at a particular pace and or ability and or competence, and this person can't, but to the job they meet the standard. But as a whole, we know that there's a certain amount of output that's needed, and if just because I'm more competent, the weight is going to be put on me and not them, and I'm doing more and not them. But we don't fire them because of that. We don't even blame them. You're not even allowed to blame them because of that.
Called the Pareto rule.
I mean, you took the medical example. For example, there are nurses who are excellent that could probably take care of 10 patients at a time or more. I don't know. I'm not a nurse. I don't know how many patients they take care of at a time. But then there's the one nurse that could only take care of 1 or 2 people at a time, and she's on shift, and that shift is short. So guess what? The person who's competent has to pick up more while the other person is not. But we don't demonize them. So there's so many aspects where people, quote unquote, are really not pulling their weight. They're not looking out for others, and they're not doing anything to benefit or to help but we don't wrap our world and our lives around them, for example.
No, and you in life you need to worry about yourself,
your family, your friends, your community.
Yes, and it's got to be in that order. It cannot be, and half the time you're worried about issues that you haven't even fixed your own self yet. Like, that's like going to you, telling you, well, you not getting a shot is endangering me. But then I could go in there and say, well, you not having your credit right, you not having your health right, you not having your finances in order is going to be more detrimental to me just not getting a shot. That has a 98% survival rate.
Right.
And it's really higher than that for the people of our age, because this person's younger than I'm talking about. I'm not going to put his name out there. But this person's younger. So then the survival rate's even higher.
Yes.
For that individual.
And you living next to me and foreclosing on your property is causing me problems because you're making all of our houses. You know what I'm saying?
It's like you're looking at something it's seconds versus something that's a systemic issue. That's a systemic issue. We're talking about something that so all of a sudden I get this, all of a sudden your life became better because I got a shot in my arm. Did you, or did your life become better because I got a shot in my arm?
Right.
You still have systemic problems, is what I be trying to tell people. You still have systemic problems. Shot's not going to make the fact that you were unhealthy in the get-go become more healthier.
Right.
It's not a quick fix. So I was like, hey, let's look at stuff from a cellular problem. And if you were already healthy as you shouldn't be worried about it. Because I don't walk around going in my car saying, well, there's a chance I can get in a car accident and die. There is a chance because people will die in car accidents all the time. It's elite. It's like one of the top 5 or top 10 leading causes of death in America. It might be top 10. Sure, it's in the top 10, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's in the top 10, but I don't
it's
get
top. I don't know if it's top 10 exactly, but it's top. But
it's in the top leading causes of deaths, I'm sure.
Yeah, and you have a higher chance of dying in a car accident than you do from COVID. Simple as that.
So it's like, but yet you still choose to get in the car because you know it's transportation for you to get to work.
Right.
But you don't think nothing of it because as long as you are a safe driver and you're a defensive driver, you might go, well, yeah, I know people can't drive and I'm at risk, but I know I'm going to mitigate the risk because I also am a good driver and I drive defensively.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that would be like, well, I know people out here are getting COVID, but I got the shot and I'm worried about my safety. That's what I mean by like, that would be an example of like, well, you get in the car, you're at risk. But how you drive the car can minimize the risk.
Yes.
And you're vigilant in knowing what's in front of you, back of you, left and right of you when you drive. And most people don't drive like that. You're supposed to drive with knowing what's in front, back, front, rear, left and right at all times. You should be driving your car on the swivel.
You should. And again,
so but again, that would be you taking the initiative to make your risk mitigated.
Yes.
Again, you being the best person for yourself, not others. I'm not worried about others. A person might run the red light, but I still drive past the green, looking left and right, even though it's a green light for me.
Right. And again,
the person that might run the red.
And again, we're setting up things for people to be more enabled than abled, because
yes,
with an example like we were talking about the finance earlier with following Kathy Wood, for example, how it's an enabler because you don't learn about fundamentals. You just want to be a textile crypto based investor and you don't know no fundamentals. The same thing is true nowadays, like Google Maps and these high tech cars now with backup cameras. You know,
you don't even. Yep.
And I remember I was telling somebody I knew about again about, like, for example, weapons like some military or department or something like that was changing weapons to an easier weapon or something like that, and I was like, so here we go with that, and this enabler, because you need to learn how to do things the basic way, the natural way first, become perfected at that, and then you can do the new improved tech way. Because, for example, like with these cars with these backup cameras, no. When you learn to drive, you shouldn't be allowed to use a car with a backup camera, because you need to learn how to back up and use the car with no cameras to become proficient. Because now if you rely on using a backup camera to use the car, you're not capable of actually maneuvering the car in its purest form. You're able now to maneuver the car in a form that a car is naturally not in. Yeah. So now you're enabled. You're enabled now. You're not backing up a car, turning your head, looking over your shoulder, checking the mirror, using perspective and using your using your mental state to be able to gauge distance. You're backing up and you're looking forward. You're going like you're looking forward at the screen and you're going. Am I too? It doesn't make any sense.
No, you're using no cognitive. There's no cognitive thoughts there.
Instead of building people up, for example, and on my motivational aspects, I talk about this a lot. Instead of making everything so sensitive for people so that we don't hurt their feelings, no, that's not the way of anything. Make people tough so they can take on anything. Like Bruce Lee said, I don't wish for an easy life. I wish for the tools to endure a difficult one. Because, and it's so powerful, because if you wish for
that's a good one.
Easy life, you may or may not get an easy life. But if you don't wish for an easy life and just say, forget it, throw whatever at me you can, but give me the tools to endure anything, then you're equipped with life. You're equipped. you're
You
equipped.
figured out life because life is going to happen, and there's going to be adversity and stumbles, and you're going to have to learn how to get back up and figure it out. Because they're not going to just have quick fixes like you said with these technological advancements that are making things easier.
Because
You
can't quick fix human nature.
Yeah, true, and that's true, and that's the disadvantage you have with all these advancements that are making things easier. But with that being said, you have to get better at other things. So if you get easier in one aspect, you need to be able to balance it out. I just feel like it's just not balanced. With most
It's not.
people. It's like,
It's not
okay,
balanced.
we might be using some technology for our embetterment in maybe the same time, but on the back end, I'm still fundamentally reading books every day. I'm still trying to get better. I'm still worried about my health. So I'm saving in other aspects where I don't got to waste time. Maybe I do Uber Eats. Maybe I do use an app to cut my grass or whatever the case may be. But what I'm doing with the save time is where I gain ground. But if you're doing
I would
all
say
these things,
we don't even use it for embetterment. To be even more responsible with our words, we're using it for enhancement, not even embetterment. We get down to fundamentals, down and dirty when it comes to embetterment. I mean, we get our hands dirty when it comes to embetterment. We use it for enhancement.
Right. All right. I get
Right.
that. Because even without it, we would still have been able to do what we were doing.
Yeah, people get the watch, they get the Apple Watch or the Whoosh watch, so that they see that, oh, I worked out for an hour and I burnt however many calories for the day. I'm not going to work out anymore. So now I can see, instead of actually working out hard until I'm tired, I can just work out an hour a day and that's it because I got the technology. No, we don't do that. We work out 6 hours a day and we take the technology to see how we can get better so we can work 7 hours, work out 7 hours the next day. People don't do that. And that's when it enables you. Just when you become enabled.
Yeah, no, you're right. The people are mentally weak. I've always said that. I said people are just mentally weak. I say it about a lot of stuff, relationships, jobs, careers. Everybody's just mentally weak to where the first thing that happens, you just want to just quit and then blame others. That's another thing. You're mentally weak and you want to blame others first instead of looking yourself in the mirror and saying, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I need to change the way I do things and not say every time I don't get something, I want to blame society for my downfalls, for your downfalls, but you want to blame society as if it's not you. And there's a lot of that, which is hard to deal with in the work setting because it's like people are scared. Like I give you an example. I was at the water park the other day and there was two young, like maybe 5 and 7-year-old African-American girls. And they're trying to hold the long dual raft that 2 people can sit on. And they're dragging it, but they can't go up the steps. And there's 7 to 8 people in front of me. But those 7 to 8 people are white people. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there. They're so nervous to say anything to them that they just let them struggle and they're not moving. The line's backing up. So I finally just walk up there and I show them the shoulder load. If you put it on your shoulder, you put it on your shoulder through the hole, and you just do that and you can carry it up, right? Just a simple fix, right? But they're so scared because they don't want to say anything that might hurt their feelings. And because of the racial differences that people, this is funny seeing it in my own eyes. I would never thought you would see some shit like that. It threw me off like, this cannot be that serious. The only common denominator here is that they're different race. Because that's what I had to figure out. That's probably why it's happening.
Yes.
But I'm just saying that we live in a society that, back to my point, we're living in a society so fragile that even when something is warranted, that you can help somebody, because of certain things, you're scared.
Yes.
To even do the right thing. It's like it's unbelievable.
Yes.
That we're living in that type of time right now, where people are too scared to kind of just give their opinion in a way. Yeah. Or even if they thought it was intent to help, you like, I just don't want to do it because happens if it doesn't.
Yeah. And it's appropriate to be OPS, which is, Gad said, references as, I think, the ostrich parasitic syndrome, where the ideas and the situation to even talk about it and present it is ostracized because it is politically incorrect to even have a conversation like we are about it and say that there's something wrong. You're not even allowed. You kill the narrative to kill the objectivity to it. So I mean, they make it worse, not better. I mean, they really do. They make it. I mean, and we can go on for days about that. They make it worse, not better. No, switching lanes.
Yes, sir.
Switching lanes real quick. What do you see about well, actually, switching lanes, but not switching lanes. Speaking that we were on that particular road. Did you see that they?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Did you see that? That actually Candace Owens, she actually put in to get the whatever, but the facility she requested, and they actually said, because we don't like your views and we don't like your views and your beliefs, that we're going to deny you for our facility or our area or whatever institution was giving it. They denied her.
My assistant comes to me and her face is white, and she's just like, you are not going to believe this. We just received an email from the COVID facility that they are declining to give you a test because of who you are.
I did see something. I didn't know it was that literal. I thought I saw her say that she wrote something to them, and I thought I didn't really.
Yeah,
really
she wrote,
response.
And they said because we don't like your views, your ideas, your viewpoints, we're gonna deny you. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. You're
saying that you're a medical professional. That's how that's supposed to work.
And there's many things about that. One is it plays on what we were talking about, that you're not allowed to talk about anything. You're demonized if you talk about anything. You're OPS. And on top of that, what's even more alarming is, okay, besides the fact that you're an intolerant person who has cognitive biases and mental fallacies that you can't deal with, you have your own problem, and you're at a high executive level where you can make a decision like that to deny somebody, and you have those problems, it's even sick. It shows lack of competence, objectivity. But on top of that, what is also really alarming is the fact that if this is a pandemic, epic situation, people are dying.
Yeah,
why would you deny somebody needed? That makes no sense whatsoever.
And why would you do it to a smart person that's probably going to rail you in court? Like this is definitely going to go to court. She's going to, I can already see her right now. She's going to file something, and it's going to go to court, and they're going to have that medical director's license or something, or whoever that person may have been of in that executive position to make that.
And then you see somebody commenting on the left saying, for example, oh, well, GOP and people on the right are always talking about freedom of choice for businesses to serve people. No. This is not that. We don't deny people medicine in our country. This is not about private business, anything. We don't deny people medicine.
No, you go to the hospital, you're getting treated.
You're getting treated. We don't deny people care, medicine. If this is pandemic, people are dying, you don't deny people nothing. Are you kidding me?
They're literally doing walk-in shots.
What are you talking about? And you saying, I don't want to give somebody something because of their beliefs. Is their religion okay? Is their race okay? What are you talking about? This is so bad on so many levels.
That's like a Muslim coming into a butcher shop and you're like, I'm not going to give you any meat because you're Muslim. I want to buy your meat. You can't make that decision. You can't make that decision based on what you think, what you believe is correct. You're just supposed to serve. The person
You're
that
just
asks for
supposed to
something,
serve.
you're supposed to serve, which we all are. We all, in any job, you're serving people. You're all servants to some degree. Everybody is. You're serving people,
I mean,
not
like,
things.
I will say there are some situations where it's appropriate. If you know somebody in the neighborhood is a thief and you don't want to be associated with criminals or drug dealers or something like that, and you're like, listen, man, I know you're a neighborhood drug dealer or whatever, but I don't want you coming to my store. I don't want you coming to my store.
That's
Or
a good
somebody
choice.
who's a young person, they fight people in the street. Hey, man, I don't want you to come to my store. You know, you bad person.
That was a problem.
You bad person. You stay out. Or somebody or I'm religious, and you do things that in my religion would be a sin. And I say, listen, I can't be associated with that kind of sort of just, please, can you not come here? Even that is reasonable. Even that is reasonable. But to say, I don't believe in your idea, we're not going to give you the inoculation, the medicine, or the treatment. That is sick.
Yeah.
That is sick.
And these people say this stuff where they say, we don't like people speaking their opinion unless the music is your tune of music.
Yeah.
See, that's why I don't like it, because it's like you're saying that, but people don't mean that unless it's the music that it's pleasant to your ear.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's biased, because it's like, well, you always say that people don't speak to is the opinions that you like.
Yeah, and
or
that's
it's the message that you like. So of course, I always say that to people when they say, well, you're doing this, I don't like it. I was like, well, let's flip it around. How happens if it was the other way around? And you were doing something that I was intolerant of. But see, I'm just tolerant to y'all stuff, is what I tell people that are extreme on the other side. It's like, I'm just tolerant of it.
yeah.
You're so intolerant that you don't allow me to be who I am, but I'm tolerant to allow you to be who you are.
Yeah, and I noticed
And not
people,
even complain.
and people on the left seem to be the most intolerant. But supposedly as a big five characteristic trait, socially, they're supposed to be high in openness. And you know, I love the notorious psychologists of our time, Peterson and everyone else in that particular category, but I have a problem or a concern or a confusion in the fact that a lot of these individuals are rated as, on the left, for example, high in openness, but I find a lot of problems in their behavior that show it's showing to be a dissonance to that statement, in which in actuality I'm seeing some epistemic evidence that it doesn't appear that they are objectively high in openness. Because what I'm seeing is they're having high openness to things that are not congruent to important or beneficial ideas of the discussion or topic, but they are low in openness on ideas, behaviors, or information that's opposite of theirs. So how is that openness? Openness to means higher objectivity, but that's associated with conscientiousness, which is more affiliated with people on the right. So I don't see there's a disconnect with the correlation, and my understanding on it appears to be extremely, I think I would conclude that my understanding of it is completely comprehensive, but but that to me that idea seems a little bit incoherent to me, and I would love to have more ambiguous conversation, and like I said, I don't believe it's empirical to me. I really would like to one day have a conversation with Jordan Peterson to go over that, like an hour discussion with us going back and forth with that, because I find some problems there. And he likes to talk about that, and he does play with the ideas.
Yeah.
But that particular statement of the openness is a real problem to me that I don't see with the left. I don't see it.
Yeah. Speaking, the question for you, with today's modern Democrat, could a modern Democrat be a libertarian?
It doesn't appear that way, because even from like Milton, I don't know, Fremore, that's the president. Milton, forget his name, he was the economist back in the 70s and 80s who was a libertarian. But he was associated on the right. Larry Elder, libertarian, associated on the right. Tucker Carlson on Fox News, libertarian, associated with the right. More libertarians are more associated with the right than they are the left. Well, as far as who they are closer to align with, because the ideologies and the ideas match up more congruently, for whatever reason. Those ideas seem to be more cohesive. But so no, it's not apparent. I mean, when it comes to things like drug usage, libertarian is more like, could be more associated with leftism.
Abortion.
Abortion, yeah. Yeah, abortion. What's the other one I just named?
You said
drug use.
Drugs. Yeah, drug use more. More free choice.
But libertarian,
more free choice in that regard.
Yeah, but a libertarian is when economically, or it's like more conservative base. Pride in country, more conservative base. Support for military law enforcement, more right base. Respect for them. Left sees them more as a demonic figure.
Right. So it's not in definition a right political thing. It's just more associated with people on the right views.
Well, if we break down idealistically, yes.
Yeah, but libertarian, it's separate. It's just its own.
Correct. It's separate.
It's
okay. Its own.
That's why I was wondering, because I know it wasn't like attached to it, but
no, it's its own wave. Yeah.
I noticed a lot of right people have came on the record and said they're libertarian, or they like to be what they say. Like, I think Larry Elder said, "I'm a smart libertarian."
Yeah,
is what he calls himself.
Yeah,
I just do it. I'm a smart about it. But I never really heard anybody left say it. Not that I'm seeing enough of it to get an idea if there's one or not. Maybe there might be a moderate one that might have some libertarian views. I was just curious. That's why I asked the question, because I know that a lot of it's, liberty, free choice.
Yeah, and
free choice,
and libertarian is not associated with liberal. I remember somebody telling me they're classifying themselves as a libertarian, and then I was having a conversation. Well, I said, well, you're libertarian, but okay, cool. So at least you're not 100% full out liberal. And he was like, well, I am. I'm a libertarian. I said, wait a minute. Do you even know what you're talking about? Because
they're not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Wow, that's crazy that a person could be identified something that's completely opposite.
Well, I mean, people are Dunning-Krugering all times, all type of cognitive biases that people have, and bias heuristics and cognitive errors. So his cognitive errors, he's associated from a linguistic standpoint, that liberal and libertarian, because the words are similar, that it means the same, but it's completely different. It's not even close.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Question. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah. Did you did you see this Jake Paul?
Yes, I did.
The Jake Paul fight. Were you able to see it?
Yeah, I was trying to get it on. I was working that day, so we were trying to get on. I was able to see the last 3 rounds live, but then after that, I was able to watch the highlights. But I was able to get the last 2 rounds, so I was able to get a good idea of the fight. I mean, it's definitely. If you had to ask my take, like, This is just my take, so don't take it the wrong way. But my take with this celebrity crossover boxing, granted, guys are they're getting their success, they're getting their money. It's a different way of doing it. But there's just no continuity to me when it comes to the sport of boxing now with that type of style in doing it, because it's like you got guys taking fights with Mayweather. I mean, you know, his brother fighting Mayweather, and it's like there's people that had to go through the grind in the way, like I said, the continuity, the way of how it's got to be done to get to the level. And now, because you got a little bit of buzz and you got YouTube subscribers, I'm giving your success. Don't get me wrong, but it needs to be like labeled another sport. It needs to be something completely outside, because it's like you got people that don't have the subscriber base and they just might not be able to bring the entertainment part of it. But they should have had the ability to be in that fight prior to somebody that goes ahead and says, I want to be a professional boxer tomorrow. Nate Robertson should have never been able to box. Like, there should be statutes that you can't just be a professional boxer just because we say you can, and you put a fight together and now it's a professional fight. I just don't like it being that freaking easy without, you can't be a pro baseball player, pro hockey player. Now I get that these are team sports, so there's a little different. And those team sports have set amount of games you got to play. And it's like when it comes to boxing, there's no set amount of things you have to do. You could have one fight, not fight for 4 more years, fight again. But it's like in other pro sports, there's something about being the best, because you have to fight. We know who the best is every year in football. We know who the best every year in baseball. We know who the best year in hockey, and like in all the other sports. But it's like when it comes to boxing, it's just the way it's set up. I guess this stuff can happen because it's unique. But that's just my opinion. I don't mind it. I just don't like it, if that makes sense. I like watching it, but I just don't like this celebrity crossover stuff. And they're getting professional records. I don't know how you feel about it, so I don't want to, make you change your opinion. You do have to challenge that. But that's just kind of me. I'm just not really, I guess, really a fan of it right now, of how you can just get a buzz, and then like the KSI guy, when they fought, KSI, whatever his name was, fought Jake Paul or Logan, and he knocked it. I guess and he lost, but it was like it was big. Don't get me wrong. They both have 20 million subscribers or whatever. They fought. One of them lost. I think Logan Paul lost, and then he's doing the same thing his brother's doing. And I guess now Jake Paul he's 4-0, and he's building up his buzz. And then you find it, like he knocked out 2 MMA guys. So it's like, it's starting to look a little bit like it's just money. It's not true integrity to the sport. That's why I said the continuity, to me, it's lost. That's just my opinion. Now, as a fan, I watch it because it's interesting to see these matchups. But maybe it shouldn't be professional records, though. Professional pro debuts.
Well, so... yes, so like
you get what I'm saying? I might be wrong in how I'm looking at it, because I'm not looking at it.
No, because let's talk about it, because like with Mayweather, the last fight he did, it wasn't considered a pro bout. It wasn't a pro record, pro bout. It doesn't make him 51. It's it's not a scrimmage. What do you call it? Expedition. It was an expedition. And the celebrity matches a lot of them are going to expedition. Jake, however, is fighting people under pro records. He's getting a pro license to fight as a pro fighter. And other fighters who want to fight him, it's easy for them to get a pro license, because, especially the MMA guys, because they already are used to being under athletic commissions, getting approved for athletic commissions for MMA. So they just go and just get the license easy. So obviously, celebrity matches have been going on for a long time, right? Celebrity boxing matches and stuff. And even Muhammad Ali did one with a wrestler, celebrity match. now it's becoming a frequent thing now, celebrity matches. It's become a very frequent thing, obviously because of the entertainment and financial aspects of it is high. I do get the sentiment where people who are avid fans of boxing who don't like it, because it does show a lot of problems and or kind of sort of, things that could be described as disgraceful situations that take part. Why should you, as something such as a YouTuber, like, what can you even compare a YouTuber to? A doctor? No. A lawyer? No. A hedge fund manager? No. Somebody who's of any importance? Almost no. I mean, especially their genre of YouTubing is kind of like jokes and funny stuff and stupid stuff. Like Mr. Beast, who's one of the top 5 YouTubers in the world. What is his videos? Nonsensical stuff. He's not making a video like how we're making a video that's very impactful, conversationalist information that's theoretical and it possibly very impactful and important to an individual. They're making videos on like, watch me give away a house. Watch me give a house away to the pizza man or something like that. It just has no use at all. But it'll get like 50 million views. So because of that, he might get $1 million to $2 million for that video or something like that. So moving forward, it is what it is. You have these two guys who just are able to just beat the algorithm of the internet and beat the algorithm of life. And they're doing things that normally would cause that people would not be able to skip steps at. The fact that they create a YouTube channel, they don't have to be intelligent. They're doing dumb things on the YouTube channel, they become popular. So they're smart at becoming popular at doing dumb things. And then they use the fact that they're nitwits and they get on social media and talk crap, and they're able to squabble up fights by talking crap to pro athletes because they got popularity and get money-based fights. And Jake is actually winning them. So shout out for him to winning them and making money. But obviously the people who want to be pro boxers and go up the ranks and try to do what they can do as an individual to get there, and they'll never get there, and they're 10 times better than him, it does piss people off. And it's fair to be angry at that. But as we know, which they've figured out, is that, and I've come to agreement with it, because look at me, for example, very, very intelligent investor who I should be managing billions of dollars in money for a fund. But I haven't done the work in order to be able to put myself in a position to be a fund manager of that magnitude. So whether I'm good enough or not, I haven't put myself in that position. Them, whether they're good enough or not to be in that position, they've put themselves in a position to be in that position. So life is not about being the best at what you do to get the best reward or the best result. Life is about doing the things necessary that the market says you have to do to get where you want to do and want to go. So to make lots of money in boxing, which is prize fighting, you have to be popular, not necessarily the best. You have to create some type of popularity, whether that's you're a crazy knockout artist and people want to see you kill somebody, or you win a lot of belts, people want to see you win another belt. Maybe you just have a fancy style. People want to see the fancy style. Maybe just your promoter is a big name promoter and he knows how to talk crap, talk you up. Maybe your father, maybe you're not that good of a boxer, but your father talks crap and he cusses other athletes out on TV. And then that makes people want to fight you. So boxing is a promotional thing. You have to be able to show and prove, but it's a promotional sport. Football, basketball, it's not a promotional sport. Your talent speaks for itself.
Yeah. You can have 50 million YouTubers and still not get to the NBA, or 200 million YouTubers.
Yes.
Now, that's why I agree with you on that, because I do agree that Jake Paul is where he's at because it's allowed. It's allowed.
It's allowed.
It's essentially, boxing has allowed this to happen. But looking at it and that's why I said, I'm just looking at it from a traditional sport, just from traditional sport, gladiator sport, it's like when you want to see the best, you just want to see the best. And I want to be entertained by seeing the best. There you go. And I don't want to be entertained because he's just entertaining. I want to be entertained because I'm basically want to see the two best people fight.
I'm with you.
That's me not about the YouTubers and the entertainment aspect of it. It's just looking at, maybe he is a freaking Khalid where he's just not entertaining at all, but he's the best. You know, he's not necessarily that talkative. He doesn't talk much, doesn't sing much, but when you watch him fight, he fights in a way that shows that his style of fighting is one of the best, and he wins. He wins all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but when you have somebody that just talks and it's good, it's promotion, you get the game of it. So I get it because I get the business, and I don't want to try to take the business aspect out. But I do understand the business, and that's why I gave props in the beginning and said, yes, and I understand what he's doing business. I'm just saying when it comes to sport, it's like you shouldn't be able to be a professional boxer with no prereqs. You shouldn't be able to just come over to another stuff and just be over here and just be able to be a professional boxer. It is because Nate Robertson did not earn his right to be a professional boxer. I don't care what anybody says. He did not earn the right to be considered a professional boxer professionally. There's like no prereqs. There's no prereqs. So as long as you're somebody, you could just inject yourself into the sport and essentially say, all right, I'm going to have a personal fight.
I agree 100%.
I don't get how they allow that, though.
And I agree. And Rook, I'm with you. I agree 100%. 100%. And there are many aspects about that right now that's going on that I don't like either. But the way I deal with it, I've come to terms with it. So the fact that I've come to terms with it allows me to just digest it as if it is normal. But I hate it too. I hate it too because I hate that now a production movie company can make a movie and some nitwit can just watch it at home while I go to the movie theater. I hate that because if you want to see a movie, you go to the movie theater. There's no way you sitting at home, you're going to be able to experience and love the movie the same way you would with surround sound where the sound's busting your eardrums out and it's on a screen that's bigger than your house. And you're going to sit at home and watch the movie and that's going to be as great as that. But you're going to sit at home because you're a lazy dirtbag and you want to watch it at home. Don't get me wrong, and I watch movies at home too. But I'll never premiere a movie, a big screen, wide opening, and sit at home and watch it instead of going to the movie theaters because you're never going to get the same experience. Even if I have a backup camera in my car, I'm not going to use the backup camera to back up. I'm sticking my head out the window. I'm looking back. I'm looking in the mirrors. It's for nitwits. The fact that you're a YouTuber and you're boxing and you look, they're amateur. I like Tyron Woodley. He's a great MMA fighter. But as a boxer, he's amateur style.
I agree.
Jake Paul, his style is amateurish. The whole time he's using distance, push off, push back, 1-2. Push off, push back, jab, 1-2. That's all he had. He didn't know how to hit, turn. He didn't know how to use head movement in an advanced way. None of them were doing none of that. None of it. It was amateur.
And I was watching it. It's like it does, and that's the part that bothers. That does bother because it's like, well, it's not professional boxers fighting. It's just like you said, it's two amateurs. Like for instance, like when Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather, I think he threw like double the punches, and landed half. He threw twice as more punches than Mayweather and landed half of the punches than Mayweather.
Yeah.
So he threw like 200 and landed like 30 or 20, and then Mayweather threw like 100 something and landed like 50. It doubled.
Yeah.
So he threw less and landed more. And it's like, and he's 50 pounds heavier than me. So it's like you're watching this and it's like, yeah, I get it. It's entertainment. But then you look at this, and it's like, oh, he did a good job. He lasted. He lasted. Yeah, but when you look at this, he got annihilated. It wasn't even close. It was disgusting.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. You're 50 pounds heavier than him. You're 6'2", he's 5, whatever. He's 145 pounds.
Yeah. Because anybody who is 50 pounds smaller than me, I'm killing them.
Yeah, it's like so. It's like he brags about it. It's like
I'm talking about unconscious. Unconscious. They're gonna be unconscious.
You know, and people are like, "Well, he's the greatest boxer of all time." It's like now you're like, if you would have won, you would have like, "Oh, I beat him," and then it's like now it's like semantics because it's like depending on what happened, it's like what narrative you want to use. You know, oh, well, he's bigger than Floyd. Floyd's great. He's a great boxer. You know, that's why he lost. You know, and then it was only 8 rounds. It wasn't like it was 12. Yeah. You know, but either way, so it's not even real boxing. You haven't even put the weight in to do a 12-rounder. Like these guys out here doing 12 rounds, and I get it. That's why I say you came to grips with it. I just look at a guy that does 12 rounds. He's got a real professional record. He's done it. He's went through the gym. He's came up the ranks. And he's got an opportunity to fight a person that's got status, but he doesn't because now it's turned into a celebrity game of revenue, of who's the more well-known. But you can't skip steps in a lot of things. You can't become this chairman of Goldman Sachs. You can't become the president of the United States. You can't. There's a lot of stuff you can't just go. But it's just boxing seems like you can just cut corners, which I'm glad that he did it because he figured out the algorithm. Because obviously he's like, well, why do tennis? Why do football? I can't skip. I got to go through the ranks. So for him as an athlete, I don't blame him because it is the easiest stepping stone. And I don't want to demonize boxing and say it's just easy, but it is easy to become pro compared to what we see and how you want to do journeyman game, get your numbers up, get a fight. It's a little bit different game to play versus all the other sports that we watch, where you cannot cut the corners. And I guess that's the part that bothers me because it's just that one niche. And there might be some other niches and stuff that you can skip corners, but it's like when it comes to that, it's like, dang, it's like it messes me up because I look at the grind of everybody else in years to get to a fight or to a position where they even win a title or even get to the opportunity of being a World Series or in the NFL Super Bowl. And you got people that are just doing championship belts with just basically 5-10 fights.
Yeah, I mean,
now those 5-10 fights could be over a course of how many years, I don't know. But I wish there were just something to where, as a pro fighter, you have to do a minimum like force them. They got to do 5 games a year or something. I don't know what's normal, but like 4 to 5 fights a year, maybe 3. Be like minimum. Like, hey, Tone, it is what it is. You're a pro fighter now. Your contract says 3 fights a year. Because like on boxing and like other sports, you have to play your opponents. You have to. It doesn't matter who's coming in or not. If there's new people coming in, Tone, you better prove you can beat them. You're going to have to do 3 minimum, not this, we'll just work up and we select our fights all day long. It's too much. That's where the business comes in. It's too much of that, if that makes sense. Because they would take the business part out of it and the politicking. If it was just straight, hey, you just got to do 3. Do 3 or 3 or 4 every year. Because like college basketball, there ain't no choice. You got to play in that March Madness. Every year, you got to do March Madness. Every year.
MMA also. In the UFC.
Oh, so they do have something like that?
Oh, yeah, in MMA, if you want to win the belt, I mean, you got to fight who we tell you. You can't, there's no, I mean,
I kind of like that style.
You can journeyman your way up in the smaller organizations. You can kind of journeyman your way up. You could be in between 2 organizations and kind of, hey, we got to fight for you here. No. All right, you know what? We got to fight for you here. How about this guy? All right. But when you get in the UFC, it's kind of like, I mean, unless you are the big name champion, you can kind of pick, but that's after you got the belt or that's after you're a superstar.
Yeah.
But to get there, you can't really journeyman your way up. It's kind of like, I'm the champ. This guy has knocked out 3 of the top 5 guys. He's next up. It is what it is. I got to fight him. Either that or give up the belt. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it. And we're going to see a lot more of this type of stuff as time goes on. That where people are skipping steps.
Yeah.
Because of a lot of platforms and different things technologically are forcing people to. The fact that somebody made millions of dollars through Bitcoin in the last year makes them think that they know something about finance. There's a lot of things that people are just cheating.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I don't want to say cheating, but they're skipping steps.
Oh, no doubt.
They're skipping steps.
That's where it makes you wonder how sustainable this is. This is definitely new, and I don't see how sustainable it is because, I mean, Jake Paul, I mean, he fight what, Ben, was it Askren?
Yes.
Askren? I mean, he's 36 years old. I mean, and then when you've got Logan Paul fighting Mayweather, he's 44. I mean, and I get it. These games, but it's like, what are we talking about here? They're like, these guys they're still good fighters, but they're old. How old was Woodley? Is he like 39?
7, I believe.
He's 37?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, that doesn't discredit. He's still a beast, but it's like, these are not their natural sport. Because obviously if it was an octagon, this is not, what are we talking about here?
Yes.
Woodley would have destroyed him.
Right.
He would have destroyed him. You know, obviously it gave him an advantage to just do boxing because now he's not boxing every day.
No.
You know, you could tell the way he was throwing punches.
Yeah, I could tell. I mean, there's obvious times where he just didn't know how to take advantage of the opportunity with punching. Like if it was a fight, you could see that, he obviously could have did this, and this if it was MMA. But there's certain situations where there's clear, obvious opportunity to attack, and he just doesn't know how to do it because he doesn't do it.
Because he just doesn't do it. And that's just years in the game. I mean, that's years in the game. Yeah. And I see it as more money for them to transition from an MMA to a boxing. It's just the way boxing gets promoted. It's definitely it's steroids. The way they put up a fight, it ain't the same as MMA because I guess like you said, it's ran by Dana White, where these are kind of more independent. Things are happening in a different way. Whereas like you said, the licensing is a little different, and how it gets put together. And I don't know if they fronted the money. I don't know what the purse was, but it's definitely a lot unique where you can basically just create. I mean, like I said, Conor McGregor.
You know what the real game changer is? The game changer is, with all of this, is subscription based. I mean, so the pay-per-view aspect of boxing is what allows this. If it was just all TV based, you have to rely on volume and quality, but more so volume to keep people watching.
Consistency.
Watching championship. Everybody wants to watch the championship. With boxing, it's kind of like you don't have to watch them. You don't have to watch them. You don't have to watch them. Wow, pay-per-view fight. Who's this guy? Everybody tunes in.
Yeah.
With the movie industry, for example, now it's like, well, I subscribe to Netflix. I don't really want to see this movie out in the movie theaters by going to the movie theater, but because Netflix bought a portion of it, it's going to show on Netflix. Since I'm a lazy dirtbag, I'm going to sit at home and watch this movie that I don't even want to watch, and without even having to get up, go to the movie theater and see it in elegance, I'm just going to see it here and just watch it. Oh, I did watch that. You know what I mean? So it's subscription based. Yeah. The fact that I don't even like investments or motivation, but because I'm on YouTube all the time, the algorithm throws it at me, and all of a sudden I grab onto it, and now I think it's cool to be a business person or investor when I know nothing about it, and I get all this confirmation bias to say, yeah, I'm an investor, but you're not. So it's all this subscription based. OnlyFans, for example, like you never once got a membership at Brazzers or Pornhub as a membership and bought into it, and you never bought or paid for porn. But now all of a sudden you're following some female on Instagram and you go to her OnlyFans, and now all of a sudden you're paying her for her porn. You see what I'm saying? It's all this subscription-based services that are allowing people to get more interpersonal to things that they generally might never would pay for play. So it's changing the way we do things.
No doubt. I guess the time will tell if this Jake Paul and Logan Paul is not like a lottery winners to where is it continuous success, because like you said, when you do skip steps, there are also hard downfalls, and it'd be interesting how they manage their money and how if they turn it into a way that they won't be like 60 to 70% of athletes that basically when they're done go broke. I mean, don't have nowhere near, because of the fact that he is skipping steps and he's doing crazy stuff. Like I think he bought a Charizard Pokemon card for like 100,000. Yeah. And he posted that, and I just did it just because I knew we were gonna talk about it, just to see some stuff about him. But I was like, his mind is still undeveloped, and I guess the mind develops at 25. He's close. He
well, 26 to 28, mostly 27. Yeah. Your brain, your frontal cortex is fully developed. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's still mind's a little undeveloped in the behaviors. Is it an act, or is he really smart, or is it just an act, or is he legitimately just acting? He's like really good at acting. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's very conscientious. I don't know. I don't know him that well. I don't know if it's him really going behind the scenes like, yeah, I'm just gonna put on a show, or is it really that's how he is, and he's organically just that, and it just happens to be viral. Because obviously, like we were talking about you being a perfectionist, there's a lot of people that are trying to pop like Jake Paul, but we're not seeing how many people are failing. So maybe he is completely an idiot, and he's just happened to be the one that he's just happened to just get snatched up, and now he's just good, and now he's the guy we're seeing on these mainstreams. But there's people that are trying to be just like him, taking shortcuts all day long, but how many people are taking the shortcuts are failing though? That's why I don't like this shit. So I'm going to keep saying I don't like it, because I know there's more people failing, taking that route than succeeding. He's succeeding, and he's mega succeeding, but we can't use that as a, that's like people that always like to use the 1%.
Yeah.
As a way.
He's no measurement of anything. He's no measurement of anything.
He's a unicorn. He's literally he's a unicorn in what he does. So it's like, okay, can other people do the same thing? Probably not. Because there's a lot of things that went his way for him to get it. And he's also a good athlete on top of the fact that he's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
He's actually, he's a world class. He's actually a decent D1 athlete. Period. He's a decent athlete. Period.
Right.
Because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be able to even entertain these guys.
Right.
So I'll give him that. I mean, they're both of them as brothers are gifted athletes. I'll give them both of that for sure. But yeah, that was definitely my take in the overall of them. And I don't mind them shit talking all that, because that's just the sport.
Yeah.
So when people ask me about that, it's like, yeah, I don't get on that. I mean, he's doing no different. Just as long as he shows respect after the game, which he did. He showed respect to Woodley. He showed respect. There's respect after the game, so there's no disrespect. So all that, and I know that. I'm speaking like for the
for the audience. Yeah,
it's more for like how I think about. That part don't bother me at all. That's just the game. That's just the game of boxing in the promotional part of it. That shows it works.
Right.
How you know it works? Look at Floyd and Conor. it right there. How do you know shit talking work? Look at the two biggest crap talkers in the game, and look how much their purse was.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that would be your avenue that it definitely works. Like, what did Mayweather say? He said, "If you're booing me, I don't get mad, because booing means you know who I am. Because you don't boo strangers. I mean, a guy could come up there and could be completely like that. You wouldn't boo him.
Right.
You only boo a person you know."
Yeah.
So you look at it that way. I was like, yeah, that's pretty smart of him to say that, because the commentator's like, how do you feel about the boos? He says, I don't feel nothing about him.
Mayweather embraces it. I remember, I forgot what podcast I was listening to, but somebody who was a good friend of Mayweather, or some type of business person who used to hang out with Mayweather back in Mayweather's mid days, his mid in his career. And Mayweather had just donated some money to like kids or charity or something like that. Mm-hmm. And this guy was like, "Man, you're so great. We need to call the news or something to get them to see this." And Mayweather was like, "No, we don't want. I don't want that." And he was like, "Why, man? This needs to be known that you do this stuff." He was like, "No. I don't want people to see this, because then if people see that I'm actually am an amazing and a great guy, then the people who hate me might not watch my fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because, you know, it might not be great to be hated when you're running for president, but it's great to be hated when you're in sports, because more people are going to, I mean, look at Brady. How many people hated Brady? He doesn't even talk. He doesn't talk. Oh, I just hate Brady's guts. So arrogant. He doesn't talk. He doesn't talk. I can't remember one quote Brady has given. He does not talk. Oh, I hate Bill Belichick. I hate him. I hate Bill.
No.
Bill Belichick does not. He's a man of few words. He does not talk. But
they just show up and just get the job done.
But to villainize people, because they're doing amazing things, that's that's just what people do. And Mayweather understood that. Mayweather's another one, king of marketing. And Mayweather and a lot of people. This is the talk when it comes to Mayweather. To me, Mayweather is one of the greatest overall boxers of all time because he killed every area. Some people say he's not the greatest of all time because they believe that while he was a Hall of Fame boxer, he was more of the greatest of all time marketer. And like, for example, Showbiz the Adult, who has a YouTube channel, he believes Pacquiao's legacy is better than Mayweather's legacy. But he's looking at rematches, fights, putting it all on the line, trilogies. He's looking at that. And he doesn't take money or marketing or Showtime deals and the backstory. That's not really he doesn't play that into a and he's objective. He says that's great. And he does say that, well, I think one-on-one, Mayweather destroys Pacquiao every time. But I think Pacquiao's career is way better than Mayweather's. But that's kind of, to me, that's slight dissidence. I mean, even though you're being objective in every single avenue and you're having very plausible answers, but it's slight dissidence in the sense that
double talking.
It's slight dissidence because how is it that you say, like, from a financial and marketing standpoint, Mayweather's the best of all time? Then you say one-on-one, Mayweather is better than Pacquiao one-on-one, 100 out of 100. But then on the last term, but you say overall, fight legacy-wise, Mayweather's better. Pacquiao's better, fight legacy-wise. Well, how if he loses 100 out of 100 against that guy? I mean, I get what he's trying to say. I get what he's trying to say. From
the blood sport of it, just going out there.
But there's slight dissonance there.
Yeah.
There's slight dissonance. And shout out to Showbiz. I'm not attacking you. Showbiz.
Oh no.
Showbiz, you know.
100 years.
You talk your stuff, and I'm just making a point.
From now,
just making a point, Biz.
At the end of the day, a century from now, when all the biased people are dead, who's gonna have the bigger legacy and remembrance? When all the people today is dead and there's a new set of generations. Right. We start looking at the Jim Thorpe of back in the day. Well, Jim Thorpe was a great athlete. He probably was hated back then, but when you look back on it, we could go off the stats now. When the old generation dies off, the new generation can only go off stats.
Right. Because here's the thing. You're right. And see, that's one of those things that if you lived it, your perspective is different from if you read about it in history.
Yes.
Because during the Mayweather-Pacquiao primes, I would say there was more Pacquiao fans than Mayweather. Me and you were Mayweather all day. We were Mayweather all day. I was not 100%. Pacquiao because I saw, don't get me wrong, he's a Hall of Famer and he's great. And I wish he would have won his last fight. I mean, what he's done is iconic. And the fact that he even still fighting at 40-something, 44-something. 43, 44. I think he's 44. Don't quote me. I might be wrong. I'm not keeping up with his age. I barely want to keep up with my own age. But during that era, prime wise, Pacquiao had much more love than Mayweather. So if you look back, you kind of want to say Pacquiao over Mayweather, just naturally. Yeah. But it's kind of one of those things that, which we're able to do. The whole entire way I was reading through the lines. I said nobody's beating Mayweather. I was reading through the lines. You remember? Nobody's beating him. No, I would say nobody's beating this guy. It's easy to see. It's easy to see. First couple of rounds, he's relaxed. He touches him up, and then 6, 7, 8, 9, be ready to go. That was every fight. 1, 2 rounds, 3 rounds. Yeah. Might even get those are throwaways. 6, 7, 8, 9, be ready to go. So.
That's the game plan. Like you said, we always had the game plan.
Yeah.
Game plan. He said, you have 3 ways to beat you. Or he'll always.
Oh yeah, with the records.
Yeah. They're like, well, he's like, well, I'm gonna do this. He says, well, there's 7 ways to beat you.
Yeah.
There's no ways to beat me.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it, and I know, and when people don't, and that's why it's actually sometimes not good to be humble, because actually humble means to have a low estimation of yourself and your own work.
Yeah.
So there is good to have the exercise humility, but to be humble is something sometimes I don't even want to be humble, because I shouldn't have to show a low estimate of myself because you don't understand, or because of how you see me, and to make you be even kill or be able to basically say be more humble. You're only saying that because I'm above you. Well, if I'm above you, I shouldn't have to come down to you just because you feel like maybe you should catch up.
Yeah.
Because there's always people, you don't say this to bums. You don't tell bums to be humble. You don't tell scrubs to be humble.
Right.
It's always people that are in a position to where you feel like they have to be humble. And they really don't want to be humble. They just do it just to be able to confide to the peasants.
Yeah. And see,
because I really don't care when somebody's great and he's not humble, because I don't understand humble means having a low estimation of yourself. You shouldn't be having a low estimation of yourself. You should want to be where you're at.
Yes.
I shouldn't be like, well, I got to tone myself down because I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
Yeah.
That's just how I take humble. I get humility, but I don't like the people always got to be humble for others.
No, I agree. And that's a cognitive issue that people have, where somebody's doing good and they're speaking about how good they are, and you have a problem with it. It's a cognitive issue. Leon Festinger, amongst dissidents and cognitive dissidents, which he studied along a lot of other different things that he studied, he also studied social comparison theory. And the social comparison theory is that a confident person does not feel negative emotion by having social upward comparison to people who are better than them. It actually motivates them. But people who are very neurotic and have vital past neurotic events that happened in their life, or self-esteem or mental mental abilities that are less than average, they can feel very neurotic and or negative emotions to having upward social comparison. So comparing themselves to people who are doing good makes them do worse and or feel bad. So people like that usually get complexes, inferiority complexes or superiority complexes, where they are comparing themselves, they're trying to compare themselves downward to people, or will look at somebody who is highly confident and try to put them beneath them through an inferiority complex so that they feel better of socially comparing downward. So it's a mental, cognitive, or maybe even heuristical problem that these type of people have. And although people who are confident and or low self-esteem, non-confident people study shows that both of them benefit off upward comparison, looking up to people who are doing better than them. But the neurotic, low confident person a lot of times will have very significant problems neurotically by having upward social comparison if they have some type of definite negative mental state that is detrimental to their psyche. So they continue, and they know that, so they continue to have downward comparison. So this is somebody who's dealing with a problem, an undressed problem, they're not able to deal with. So, for example, like what's the last fight I saw? I saw the McGregor fight where Portier, where he snapped his shin or something like that. Well, the last fight with Dustin Poirier, and I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, throwing a few bags, watching the fight, and the bartender behind the bar was like, "Oh, I hate McGregor, I hate him," or whatever. And then McGregor snaps his shin or whatever, and he's on the ground with his shin snapped, and he's still talking crap, being funny, telling Portier, what was he saying to Portier? He's saying, "Yeah, no, we're gonna run it back. We're gonna run it back. I don't care what nobody's. What do you mean? I was destroying them. I have a slight shin snap right here. I'll be back. You betcha." What do you got to say? That's why your wife was in my DMs. And everybody was laughing. That was the biggest thing, right? And the girl behind the bar was just so... See, why do you have to go there? Why do you have to talk about his wife is in his DMs? I was like, are you watching this? The guy is on the ground with his shin snapped in half. Portier, who is getting unanimous win by technicality because the guy breaks his arm, breaks his shin, they automatically lose. Portier is talking crap, calling him a dirtbag before he even started talking crap. He said, "Man, I don't care, man. I won, man. McGregor's a dirtbag. You know what? I won. So what if his shin is snapped?" He's talking like this. So McGregor starts talking crap back. It just so happens when McGregor talks crap, it's better than when you talk crap and you don't like it. See, nobody cares when Portier's talking crap because it's like it doesn't hit you in the heart.
Yeah.
But when McGregor talks crap, it hits you in the heart. You have a problem with it because of your personality type. So you getting upset at McGregor, how is it that McGregor lost and you're still not even satisfied? You're still upset because he's talking before and after the fight and he's lost. You still don't even feel a confirmation that he lost. Why? Because that says, honestly, I'm looking at the bartender, I'm seeing right through the lines that there's something cognitively disruptive about your personality. You're very sensitive. You're very neurotic. You probably have bad affect heuristics. You're probably superly plausible. You could have probably a lot of fallacies going on with you, cognitive biases. I mean, I'm seeing it right now. And I was like, I probably can have a conversation with her within an hour and pick her apart. But we're sometimes too aware, too cognizant, too conscientious for our own good sometimes when it comes to particular things. But we're going to wrap this up. We're almost at the 3-hour mark. If the people listen on the podcast, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, or maybe you're on the patreon.com/verbal artwork, getting the ad-free episode of this, maybe you are, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube at Mr. Rembrandt. Make sure you go over to Instagram and follow me at Mr. Rembrandt, no spaces, and follow R Wilkes. That's RAW_WILKES, and follow us. Make sure you stay tuned to the next podcast. And this is going to be continuous. I'm going to have guest speakers. We're putting marketing into this. This is going to be big. This is going to be excellent. It's going to be great. Stay tuned. Keep watching the podcast. Keep listening on all platforms. Become a member. Subscribe. It's going to be great. Trust me. I have all types of guests in the near future. It's going to be excellent. It's going to be great. Just in it for the long haul. You're going to see my face. I'm going to be around. Big things to come. Trust me, guaranteed. A lot of things coming up for the future. motivational clips, more BMF, business, money, finance things, cinematic, theatrical, small clips and videos coming up. You're going to see a little vlog / things of my life, but I won't be uploading a vlog, but you'll see things of my life, me out doing different things. You might see me in an exotic whip or something like that, just having fun with me and R. Wilkes. You might see us, many things to come. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Guys, I'm back. Mr. Rembrandt's back. And all the haters, you know, here's your Mr. Rembrandt energy drink. You know, there's a hater fan page out of me already. I'm nobody. But cool. Keep doing that, guys. That's great. Make the hater fan page. Call him, what am I? I'm a super hacker or something now. Whatever, cool. I'm a super hacker. Whatever you guys are calling me. Mr. Rembrandt energy drink, whatever. Cool. That's excellent. I love it. Just keep watching and enjoy the show. So, Raw Wilkes, you got anything to say before we close out?
I just want to tell for all the supporters is move with the movement or it's moving without you. That's all I got.
Thanks for tuning in to Mr. Rembrandt Verbal Artwork. And thanks for tuning in to Mr. Rembrandt and Raw Wilkes. See y'all on the next episode. See you there.